There it is.
And we're live. Hello and welcome to the
right.
46th episode of Game Theory Gang, the one that we got right. And I can already tell that this is going to be a great episode because there is so much to report on. There's so much good news. I'm Matty Allen, and here with ChrispyMan of HEXFire.io and Tobiwan Hexobi. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for being here. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm liking it and I'm subscribing to it.
All right.
That's what's happening.
I'm good.
So the show keeps getting more and more popular. 3,800 people watched last week. So shout out to all of you who have been tuning in. Thank you. I think the shows keep getting better and better. And so tonight I've planned one of our best shows ever. There's the lead story on the thumbnail. So I'll go over what we're going to get into, and then these guys will do their presentations and give their feedback and everything. So our lead story is a new way to visualize the rise and evolution of the top 25 wallets, both dolphins, sharks, and whales. And that is courtesy of hexfire.io. Is that something we're going to be premiering tonight?
I got it queued up. Yeah, we'll be talking about it for sure.
I'm stoked, man.
I was rolling on the floor laughing at the responses that I got on Twitter this week on a poll or a thread that I wrote asking what attracted you to the Hex community. Wrong answers only. And so we might get to some of those tonight because they were really good. The second mass Hex meetup that I have ever put on will happen in May. More details coming soon.
Wait. May of 2023?
Yes.
Okay.
I am going to be very clear on the year.
Inside joke, right?
That's right. You could even say mid-May. Speaking of which, the release of the Hex Rewind 2022 video is super epic. We get that at the end of every January. And that's something that I want to shout out to Hex Cadet, and we'll be able to have some discourse on tonight. Earlier today or yesterday, there was a 3.5 hour live, not live stream, but pre-recorded stream of Richard Hart and some random dude who said that he solved the bridging problem. And so that's exciting. That I took away a couple gems that we can share tonight. And then there's also, I thought that there was an inspirational thread that I found on Twitter that I can share about the hardest part of the bear. There are 3 phases of a bear market, and we might now be going into the third part. And then also we had cryptographics published today 2 ways to predict the starting price of Pulse, and we'll be able to show you a third. So, and a fourth.
Wow.
In fact.
That's a lot. That's a lot of information.
Cool.
I know, right? What's been going on with you guys?
Good, Toby.
Me? Not much, honestly. I'm just convalescing this recurring back nonsense that I'm dealing with. So here's the problem. As you get older, your body is less capable of recovery. So if you're nursing an injury of some sort, do not let your ego lead. So we gave away a couch about a week or so ago, and had some younger gentlemen come over that were friends of ours that were going to help carry the couch to our friend's house. And they seemed to be struggling a bit. And instead of me doing the smart thing, which is letting the younger men go ahead and take the free couch, I hopped in to help out and have been suffering for that ever since. So yeah, but I'm doing a little better. I've got a special, I can't really show it, it's in my chair, but it's like it's not a Korean sex swing. It's but it has like stirrupy looking deals. I know, sorry, Maddie. But it's basically
please
helps you.
This is a family show.
Helps you up, keep your back very straight. So you put these knee pads on, and then it pulls in on your low back. So if you see me kind of struggling around with some straps, it's not anything too terribly weird. It's just me making sure my low back doesn't freak out midstream. Other than that, I'm just kind of, trying to find cool stuff to pay attention to. It's like to me, it seems like it's been a little bit of a slow news week. I think relatively speaking, it has been because we just had so much crazy drama with SBF and all the other stuff that was going on. And you just laundry listed it. There's a lot of cool stuff to discuss. I'm looking forward to digging into it and learning a little and asking some questions and whatnot. But relatively speaking, it seemed kind of calm to me, So I'm interested in getting into some stuff that's like less drama related and more like, fact based. Like analytic stuff. And I mean, who better to do that with than you and Crispy? So happy to be here. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Did Sam Bankman-Fried do something wrong?
Well, recently I heard that he's been trying to communicate with some people through Signal on the other side that is basically unethical at least, if not criminal. So but he's still in the news, but just not as much. Thankfully, because I was getting a little bored of that weirdo. So I'd much rather be talking about like Hex stuff and Pulse stuff, and those things are more exciting to me.
Woo. Me too.
What about you, Crispy? What's going on?
I've been reorganizing the Hexfire site. Made some changes this week. Try to streamline everything that's there to be very repeatable and up and running. So. I think last week we mentioned it. They opened up a Patreon for that, so I've been digging into exactly what does that mean and how do you actually provide that type of stuff. And then, as Maddie had mentioned, I went down the rabbit hole. I fell down like 3 different rabbit holes this week. I work on something, and then I fell into, trying to visualize. I wanted to do this for the longest time, trying to visualize what the rankings look like. And so I think we're going to talk about that a little bit.
This is so cool. I'm so excited about this.
Yeah. Well, I got so excited I had to put the national, the Hex anthem to it on one of the videos. I have it up with the on YouTube with the music in the background.
Sweet.
And did that. And then kind of progressed our ability to look at past transactions, in Hex. So I've been able to load up the 4.4 million records. Now that in itself isn't like tremendously, oh my God. I mean, because a lot of people work with a lot of data, but I've been able to do it in such a way and get it to a site where I think anybody can consume it. It's not ready to be completely published out to the public, but where you can go in by your address and see what all the different transactions took place in your address or somebody else's address and of Hex. And this is hopefully going to be the origins of a lesser lift to track maybe OA addresses. So my vision is I put a address in and I will see all the downstream action that took place. That's my vision. And so once and for all, I'll be able to answer the question for myself when somebody FUDs or says, hey, this address has been sending to this address and, and it's bad. I can go click the button and go look at it and see. And then the third thing that I did is Maddie kind of inspired me last week, talking about the TShare allocation by wallet, right? And to see how you're doing. And so I put together kind of an analysis where you put in all your addresses for your wallets that you control. And by date, it'll show the changes to your TShares and your percent of the TShare pool and what your ranking was at the time. And whether it changed, and that man, that gave me like reverse FOMO and FOMO at the same time, Maddie. When I looked at it, because I'm like, damn it, how could I be going down in percentage, but my position didn't change, but then my position changed and I got better, but my percentage went down, and it's because, of course, the numbers are changing every day. So that was kind of interesting to see how long you can hodl for dear life, hold on for dear life.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I mean, if you can imagine, like if you check your stick wrap every day, to look at your rankings, and then now you can see throughout history, every time you took an action, it's showing you how your rank was changing. It's just really cool. So yeah, brilliant stuff that you're putting together there, and that we'll be able to showcase tonight on the show. Very cool.
Yes, sir.
Excited. It'll be fun to look at. Yeah, I saw somebody. I had a problem with this the other night. I guess my audio was only coming through on people's left headset, and I don't know what's going wrong, but I changed the settings, so let me know in the chat if that's any better. But one ear of me is plenty. You know what I mean? Do you need
Look
both
who it
ears?
is.
Really?
The Briz.
Briz.
How's everybody?
Salaji. What's up, bro?
Hey, Briz, how are
Doing
you?
good.
I'm doing fantastic.
Dude, I'm loving your art, by the way. Your art is killer.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm having a blast making it, and it's been good. I went on like a long walk today for like a couple hours, and I just put on that Power City podcast, Twitter Spaces that they did, and just kind of tried to soak as much of that in as possible.
What is a Power City?
Power City, they're one of the projects launching on Pulse Chain, and
But what is it?
well, they're trying to do like an amplifier. They're gonna have a stable coin. That's what they just launched. They're doing their own stable coin.
I thought everybody sacrificed for some other stable coin.
Liquid loans.
Yeah. What
Which-
happened there?
Jesse was also a part of. Basically, from my understanding, is that there's no animosity between the two. It's just basically more of they're just trying to get a healthier ecosystem by having more stablecoin options across the board. So it should be good. It should be allowing for a
Man,
healthier.
people are going to be able to do all kinds of stuff with their coins on this new chain. You can drip them to yourself with Time Pays Me. You can take out a loan with Power City on your PulseX. You can use liquid loans for your Pulse chain. You can liquidity farm pool. All these, all sorts of
can-
things. I mean,
You can buy a boxable home NFT.
yeah.
And apparently, the great thing about that is that you jump to the front of the line, and so you don't have to wait at the back of the line.
There you go.
Is that the thing they had set up in Vegas?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. That was cool. Yeah, lots of interesting stuff going on, man. It'll be fun when this all becomes reality.
Yeah, I know.
Boxable homes.
Maybe pretty soon with that 3-hour video with that one guy Richard did. That was I think they said 13 days ago, and he was saying, hey, Pulse Chain might launch next week, might launch in 3 weeks. So that's like,
I'm glad you brought that up, Bristology, because actually I made a note of that when I was listening to the 3.5-hour stream earlier. Yeah, Richard said 3 weeks or next week for V3. And that was the day that the DOJ made an announcement about that gambling website that nobody had heard of.
Blitz Lotto.
Blitz Lotto. And so if you're saying that was 13 days ago or something like that, that sounds about right. And how exciting for the people who are holding their breath on the edge of their seat. They can't wait for V3. Everybody's losing their minds at home right now. Now, here's another thing that I want to point out that I picked up on from this Richard Hart stream that came out yesterday. He used the term integer expansion as it relates to creating compatibility with the Block Explorer. And I don't know, maybe I didn't realize that's exactly what it was. I mean, I said it on here. I knew that that's what it was when it came to certain elements of the stack that makes up Pulse Chain. But Yeah, it totally makes sense. Look, integer expansion, that's where we know that Pulse Chain is going to be 1.2 million times higher supply than Ethereum. Well, you got to fit all those zeros in somewhere into every layer of the blockchain, right? Every part of the code that makes up a blockchain. And blockchain is made up of the different elements that he's talking about when he says Aragon this, Solidity that, all that good kind of stuff, right?
When you like type in your calculator and you're like 20 million times like 900 trillion, and it gives you like a 2-point E.
Yes.
And you know how annoying that is? That's like super annoying. Well, apparently
Integer
that's
expansion.
not going to be a problem on Pulse Chain.
That's right. Well, that's why it's not ready to go right now.
Yeah.
Presumably is that there's not enough room to fit all the extra zeros. And if you ask me, it makes sense to make Pulse Chain with more zeros than Ethereum because of unit bias, and that's a big deal. Also because of the brilliant fixes that have been created for the fixer bot, and starting the price at zero, and just all the different elements that have gone in to make Pulse Chain just a brilliant idea. I think it makes perfect sense that the devs are getting this part right.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it makes perfect sense. Like, now we know why we're waiting and what we're waiting for.
Yeah, I mean, these numbers are so big. It's kind of like, I don't know. I'm just glad I'm not the one responsible for it all.
Big responsibility. Wasn't Aragon a character
A lot
on
of
Lord of
work.
the Rings?
I know, right? That's what I think about here. Spelled differently, I think. And Diraj Moore, KDP is going to be the financial death of me. And she's like a little Pied Piper, and she's I'm just following.
There you go.
I am going to be a gentleman and not insert any off-color jokes. KDP is awesome though. She's you know what, here let me actually interject something here, because I have noticed recently on Twitter, and there have been people that have come to the fore to like defend the ladies of not only just like the group that we refer to as the ladies of Hex, but other ladies that are in Hex, HVid Hex and KDP and some others, and are giving a hard time about being moon girls. And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but it's like I would rather see moon math and like, super FOMO-licious stuff than a bunch of FUD all over my feed. So even if it doesn't come to pass, it's like, you know what? They're getting engagement. They're getting more followers.
They're jealous of the popularity. Thing. Yeah,
absolutely, dude. It's like, that's totally my feeling. It's like, how do you say you're an incel without being an incel?
Well, with that said, people make fun of moon boys as well,
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Yeah, but
just be mad at
girls,
everybody
like,
equally. Like, I got it wrong, Richard got it wrong, everybody got it wrong. So,
right.
And honestly, in my opinion, anyone really like mad at KDP or HVid or whatever, they're probably not real people. They're probably just like little trolls. Remember, guys, just because someone has Hex in their name does not mean they like or support Hex.
Absolutely.
True that.
Yeah, I mean, and I could take the counterpoint that, like, people are tired of the hopium. This is the depression and the disbelief stage of the market. We're the bear market conditions like leave less space. You have to be more bold to make predictions like these women are making. And so, that's going to be met with some trepidation and some trauma. It's like lots of us have gotten backlash for saying that Pulse Chain's right around the corner and then it wasn't or something. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of parts of the Hex Rewind 2022 video that ring true. It's like there's a segment that says software is hard, software is hard. And it's like, it's really good because that's true.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure
Also,
that, like,
no expectations.
Yeah, totally. And it's like in that video, the Hex Rewind, I just finally watched that last night. I thought it was great. And it's, I guarantee that every time, and it's so funny because he just like strings them together, like all the clips where Richard's like, it could be as soon as next week. I'm thinking 3 weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. And like they're just like bam, bam, bam. And I guarantee you, at every time that he said that, he genuinely thought that they were that close. And then there was some sort of curveball that came up. And you know what? Software is hard, and things are going to pop up that are going to delay things. And that's just the nature of this space, And it's like, but just kind of like with Twitter, where it is hard to make. I mean, Maddie, you're a prime example. It's like you're the pinnacle of the mountain of a guy that can somehow continue to make relevant content. But the majority of people out there, it's hard to fill all that space, right? And it's a 24/7 like news feed, and it's just the same stuff over and over and over, and it's really, really hard to like fill that up with something. So it's like, if people are leaning on you for predictions or updates or whatever, it's like it's going to prompt you to say something, and maybe you're going to say something that's enough that you think is going to shut them up, but ultimately that they turn around and use against you. And that's what we've witnessed for like a year and a half now or whatever. And so I don't know, I'll just be so glad when it's launched and things are happening and we can just like look back and not have to just like have this be way in our rearview mirror, because it's just so.
And remember the simpler
exhausting.
times before Pulse Chain was launched, when
before it was
it
a
was
thing.
just a glimmer in your eye. Yeah. Yeah, so it's coming one of these days, and that'll be really exciting for people. People who are using the testnet now are also probably impressed that it works so well. If you haven't used it in a while, you're missing out. But remember, a lot of the front end stuff is going to be the same. I would guess, I have no inside knowledge, but I would guess a lot of the front end stuff, your user experience is going to be very similar between V2 and V3. All that's changing is, some of the magic internet math that's happening behind the scenes when it comes to not being a
liquidity providing, right?
BSC fork and this and that, and having larger numbers that can go. So.
And I think, speaking as a procrastinator my entire life, I'm sure that there are plenty of people out there, especially when we heard, they were changing the consensus model and it's like it wasn't a copy of whatever, BSC or whatever, ETH1, and now it's ETH2, that even gave them another excuse to just like not go spend time on testnet. But I would highly encourage everyone to go play around on testnet.
Go to pulsechain.com.
Yeah, and check it out and get familiar with those front ends and stuff, because there's you don't want to get freaked out and think that you need to do something. Go in there quickly, not be familiar with how to do anything, and then make some potentially costly mistakes or miss opportunities for things that could be there early on that aren't later. I don't know, but it never hurts to have the knowledge and understand how to use the tools that are there. So I would encourage everybody to get in there and play around. Plus, it's a good distraction from like the ghost town that it's been for a year and a half. Like, as we've waited for this thing to launch, like go play around, get some ideas, talk to people. It's
you're gonna want to figure out how to do everything when you're messing around with your fake coins before you get in there with your real coins, and now you're like just trying to figure it all out, and things are happening in real life or in real time where it's like the value's going up, value's going down, you're like, oh my god, I don't know what to do yet. And it's like, should I do this? And like you figure it out now on the test net, and that way when the actual event happens, you can do whatever you need to do.
And I would like to point out also that you don't even have to play with your test coins. You can use a faucet and a brand new address with a brand new seed phrase, and you can be really particular about your security, because you probably don't have your coins locked up in Time Pays Me yet, and so you aren't going to be able to undo a hack if the day comes. So Always remember the faucet is a fun way to play with the testnet. Another thing that I really liked about the HEX Rewind 2022 video by HEX Cadet was, the first section where it kept going back and forth between clips of Richard over a year before FTX collapsed, predicting it, and then fast forwarding to show how many influencers were still promoting it and not listening, and then calling him a scammer.
Isn't
It's
it funny
really well done. It's really well done.
How many people that call other people scammers, they always end up in a failed project one way or another.
I mean, the Bankless show is like really successful, but it depends how you define success. Like if you want more views of people who can get led to the slaughterhouse, that's one thing. But it's a totally different thing to have. I think to have people supporting somebody who's actually telling the truth and doesn't have the wrong incentives, like Richard, being able to call out all these things like Nostradamus and then not get any recognition even after the fact. It almost takes clips like this and everybody sharing them out and getting the word out. I mean, that's gonna be, I can't give away the details of the HEX meetup that's coming in May, but I mean, one of the themes is definitely going to be onboarding. I can't say anymore. I'm going to give it away.
Did you say what the location is?
No, I hope not. So yeah, no more clues. Stop guessing it, everybody. And I still have a little bit more preparation to do, and there's like good reason why I can't tell you yet. But yeah, I'm really excited now that I'm looking into it. So I know last week I said I was close, but it's a lot of pieces that have to fall into place to be able to announce something the way that I normally do. So that'll be exciting. It'll probably be next week that we'll be able to unveil all there is to the second Mass HEX meetup. And I would like to brag also at this moment that I still hold the title for the largest HEX meetup of all time. The highest of stakes, they held the title briefly, and then I took it back.
Well done.
That's right.
Well done. Congratulations.
I don't know if this is, this will get on the leaderboard at least, this one. Who knows?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get more than 555 people at this one. We'll see.
Yeah, I want to know more about it, Maddie. Come on, spill the beans.
Yeah. Well, these things are, I'm very particular so that I can get everything in place. And then when you hear about it, it's time to take action versus hearing about it and then kind of coming back later. So
much better way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
I like that you're trying to provide a finished product.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and last year was really weird from an event planning point of view because we were still in the aftermath of shutdowns. And so what that meant was that the platform that I was using to process transactions and deliver tickets and everything was Eventbrite, and they wouldn't pay out the money until after the event had happened. And so I had to come up with this creative, like basically sacrifice method where you were actually paying $369 to like watch a free Tuesday night stream. And then only the people who did that would get airdropped tickets to the event. So it's like completely bizarre, weird thing to do, but that allowed me to not have to go into debt to create the event and to end up creating an event that was like, I still don't know how I got such a good deal. It was $369 for 4 days, including lunch and merch, shirt, hat, mask, all matching, like just tons of stuff. And I still don't know how I did it, but part of it was the process of like being able to like actually collect the money from the venue along the way. So I don't think it's going to have to be that weird this time. I think that it'll be a little bit more clear what you're getting, but yeah, excited.
Stoked. It's good to have something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
Well, would you mind? I'm asking you right here. Would you mind if I shield my small get together?
What do you got?
Well, I kind of just put the flyer together the other night, and I haven't posted it yet, just because I'm lazy as hell. But
Don't say that.
but I'm throwing another basically a beer event at a brewery for Hexicans to meet up and just get together and hang out for an afternoon. Very, very small event. It's like a buy your own beer type of thing. Show up and and hang out. And so I'm planning it for February 25th. That's a Saturday. I don't know, the place that I normally host my images on, their server is down right now, so I can't send a link to the flyer.
Well,
But
you can DM me and I'll share the flyer on my Telegram group, t.me/hex meetup. And
Nice.
perfect.
we can get the word out as an entire community. I really like supporting, even if I'm not in your region where you live. I want to help spread the word to the people who are, because the Hex meetups, you can't beat getting together in real life with Hexicans.
Exactly. It's a
No
lot of
matter,
fun.
no matter the size.
Where's yours going to be?
It's going to be in Fullerton, or maybe it's Fullerton, California. It's the brewery. Let me see if I can just pull something up real quick on my end.
Yeah, people in the chat were wondering where it was going to be. Again, I'd like to know where all these meetups are going to be, Maddie.
That's right. Yeah, location is required.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I guess I don't have it loaded up, but yeah.
Well, look, Brissology, he was actually at the first Hex meetup of all time. Not the first mass Hex meetup, but the first Hex meetup.
There was like 6 people there.
6 people there.
There's
Yeah.
RG3 and DCC, and a couple other people, Children of the Grave. So very iconic. We took one picture and we got to make tons and tons of memes about how short RG3 is.
That was my favorite part.
Mine too.
I remember that. That was hilarious.
Distracted people from my height, just making fun of RG3. I'm like, okay, well, at least the heat's off me. I ain't the tallest guy in the world.
I don't know. I didn't really think he was that short when I met him.
He's not. He's fine. He's average, It's
He's
like,
not. He's like 5'10", so it's like but it was
stretching
funny.
it. That's
well, but
stretching it.
maybe 5'9". Maybe he had boots on. I don't know.
Yeah, he's like
Whatever.
5'4". He's not bad. He's like an average
Keep the meme alive.
for the females.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, but like DC and some of those other guys like Hodel Dog, those guys are giants. I mean, they're freaking like 6'4", or whatever. And so anybody next to those guys look tiny.
The majority, I would say the majority of people in Hex are super tall. I'm normal.
How do you know that?
How do I know?
Because he's met them in person.
Yeah,
the majority of people.
I checked them all in at the Hex conference.
All
In real life.
There are some very
Seriously,
tall Mexicans.
it's
Axis
yeah,
Alive, giant.
It's remarkable. It's
Gold
not
Key,
like it's
giant.
It's
Yeah.
remarkable how giant. Kareem is a giant.
Kareem's very, very tall. Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, Jerry is sharing
Giants.
the domain for the Hex Meetup Telegram, where I try to cross promote other meetups as long as they're by people that I don't think are scamming. I should say people I'm more familiar with in the community. Melv Tony says that the price of Hex for historical purposes, people who are looking back on the stream far into the future, right now Hex is 2.7 cents per hex.
Pretty good price.
I like it.
I'm buying at this level and most levels here in the bear market.
I am actively doing my 2023 self-directed Roth contribution through Rocket Dollar.
Oh
So
man,
finally
I'm
my
jealous
funds
you
cleared.
got that set up.
Dude, it's great. I was fortunate enough to get
Yeah.
it set up during the Pulse sacrifice, so I actually will have Pulse airdropped into it as well as Pulse X, and I'm so happy I did that. Obviously, the value is considerably lower than when I started it, you know, because here we are and however long we've been in this bear. But long term, I'm stoked, and right now I think it's a great time to be. You know, it's like I said at your conference, Maddie. It's like, you know, making the money is only half the battle. Like keeping it is the other half. So you got to have some things in place to legally mitigate your tax consequences. I'm all about paying what you need to, but use the
Hey,
tools
me
at your
too.
disposal, right? You know, use the tools at your disposal to not pay more than you should.
Yeah, that's
So,
a good reminder.
rocketdollar.com. Actually, if you use the code Tobiwan, you get $50 off if you sign up with them.
Tobiwan.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Yeah.
Tobiwan. You should also just be able to use the code HEX, HEX, if that's easier. And you get $50
It
off
is.
if you sign up at rocketdollar.com. And I would definitely take a look at it, especially at these prices, man. I mean, imagine getting HEX and then being able to get all the gains, have staked HEX within a retirement account like that. So you would be eligible for free airdrops that would come to that account that you hold the keys to. And have all of that be tax-free when you start to take disbursements from that in the United States. When you're 59 and a half, you can start taking disbursements without any penalty. So imagine between now and then how many stakes these younger guys can get in. They can probably get a couple 15-year staking ladders in. How many airdrops in between now and then you can trade within it. So, you know, if you get a bunch of copies of HEX and you don't have access to Pulse or Pulse X, except for just a little bit to use for gas, you can maybe swap some of your free ERC duplicates for some Pulse or Pulse X or other things you find interesting on Pulse Chain. I'm super stoked about it. Can't say enough good things, but
Yo,
Yeah,
let
that's a good reminder too.
I mean, we need to emphasize the fact it is super gangster to be able to hold your own keys in a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. And that's what Tobiwan is talking about here. So
Yeah,
do
only
your
took-
own research.
Yeah,
Yep,
I don't
no,
know how long
it's
it
not-
took
go ahead.
took you, Toby, but it only took me like inside of a week to set it up, and it wasn't a week of work. It was just you know, to make sure I got the paperwork in. I did what I needed to do, and right now you could buy you could swap for $7,000. I guess maybe some people are limited to 6,000, but for $7,000 you can swap for about 260,000 hex.
Yep, that is a good thing to have in a not a tax deferred, a tax free investment like a Roth, you know. So, and then the other thing too to be aware of is there's something called, and I mean, you can Google it, you can talk to your tax advisor about it. But if you are maxed out as far as what you can contribute, like let's say you make too much money and you can't contribute to a Roth, but you have a simple IRA plan at your job, you can actually do what's called a backdoor Roth. So you contribute to your simple, and then you simply convert that simple to a Roth IRA. Obviously, you would no longer get the tax deferment that you would get from the simple contribution. But if you do it in short order, there shouldn't be much of any tax consequences. So set up your simple or contribute to your simple, and then convert that to a Roth, and then you transfer that Roth custodianship to Rocket Dollar, and then you basically have those funds sent to Iris X, where you can buy ETH and USDC, or my preferred, transfer those to an Ethereum wallet that you control the private keys to, and invest in whatever you like. Personally, you know, I think we all know what I like. So, you know, I'm buying and staking HEX. Buying and staking HEX, baby, and doing it in a retirement account that I control the private keys to. And it's completely illegal and licensed in the United States. And it's not like Grayscale and some of these other things where it's like, you know, you're buying a derivative of a thing or whatever other nonsense those other types of investments are. You literally have your own MetaMask wallet or whatever front end you want to use to access your Ethereum address. And you're the only one that has the keys to it. Very, very simple. The custodianship fees are really cheap. I think it's like $10 a month or something, for them to basically be, quote, the custodian of your self-directed IRA, but they do nothing other than help you get it set up. And then you just report annually the value of that wallet, and that's all you have to do. It's very, very simple, but I highly encourage people to check it out.
And then if you've like never bought a home, you can like buy your first home with the money in the retirement account before you're of retirement age without paying like a 10 or 15% penalty that you normally have for an early withdrawal. So that's another thing that you should do your own research on.
Yep. And you can own other things within it. You can own rental properties. You can own guns. You can own precious metals. You can own livestock. You can
Pokemon cards.
Pokemon cards.
Buy the dip.
Whatever you want to buy and hold within that LLC that's created for you. That is your Roth or your SEP or your 401k, depending on what works best for you. But definitely worth looking at. I mean, it's like it's crazy the savings that could be had for something like that. And what was exciting to me is like all of a sudden when I started getting airdrops because I had a HEX stake in this Roth, I'm like, oh wait, I got this coin, and oh now I got that coin, and oh wait, I got Hedron to mint, and it's like, oh, I can stake the Hedron in the Roth and then earn the. It's crazy, and then to think that like that little hunk of my overall investment is not. I'm not going to worry about the taxes on it, like when the time comes. So. But yeah, I mean, I could go on and on, but there's videos out there if you Google it. Kinetics and I actually did an interview with IrisX and Rocket Dollar guys probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. So that's out there if people are interested. You can DM me, contact me on Twitter, DM me on Telegram. I'd be happy to answer any questions. But yeah, rocketdollar.com. You can use code Tobiwan, TOBIWAN, or HEX and get $50 off. And the customer service is bar none. I mean, they're great. They're super quick to get back to you. I would encourage someone, if they're trying to get it done quickly, to go with the gold plan year one, but then you can downgrade to the basic plan. So then your monthly fees are a little cheaper. But the gold plan gets things expedited. So since tax season's upon us, they might be a little slow at getting it set up. If you don't, go ahead and spring for the gold plan, which is like another $150 or $200, I think. But then it gets things done in like 2 weeks instead of like a month. So anyhow, that's my rant about that stuff. I get excited about things like that. Making money's hard, man. I don't like giving it away. It's like, if you get some gains, figure out how to hold on to them.
That's right. Yeah. And, work within the rules.
Absolutely. I used to say I'm too pretty for jail, which I don't know that holds up anymore. But the idea still holds firm.
Now you're just too fragile.
Yeah, right. No doubt. It's like, let's go get the crippled old man.
Too fragile.
Yeah. No thanks.
I watched that show 60 Days In. I do not want to go to prison, guys. That's the last place I want to go.
Nah. No thanks.
So we've got, speaking of Pulse Chain.
Oh, Pulse Chain.
And, people speculating on, what the different methods are of predicting the starting price. Now, I said at the beginning of the show, Cryptographics had posted this of 2 different ways that he found, which are fascinating methods of predicting the starting price of Pulse Chain. And I'm going to give you 2 more in addition to that. So I'm just going to read this. It's really good. So ETH's current supply as of the time of writing is 122 million. Pulse will have approximately 1.2x more supply than ETH in order to keep the ratios correct for the liquidity providers. Basically, he means the AMMs. So if we multiply the supply of ETH by 1.2 million times, we get 146 trillion. Now, if we take the market cap of Ethereum, 192 billion, and divide it by the total supply of PLS, we should get a price which is $0.0013. So that's 13% of a penny. If we go to Uniswap V2 analytics, we can find a pool with ETH in it. For example, I used HEX. there is currently 15 million hex only. And that's priced at 2.5 cents each in the pool. And on the other side of that V2 pair is about 250 ETH, priced at 1,500 and some odd dollars each. Since we know that the AMM Fixer bot is going to harvest tokens in Pulse pairs and inject Pulse into the Pulse X LP to fix the ratios of the pools due to inflating the supply by 1.2 million X, we can calculate what this pool would look like after this is done. In order to move a ratio properly by 1.2 million X, we have to figure out the square root of 1.2 million, which is 1,095. Now, once we know that number, we have to multiply the ETH in the pool by 1,095 to convert it to the right PLS number and divide it by the hex side of 1095. This means that the proper ratio would be left with 13,000 hex and 271,000 pulse on each side. However, in order to make this work, the harvester bot has to remove 15 million hex from the pool. To do this, it must mint 271,000 pulse into the pool. Now we're left with a ratio of 19.45 hex to 1 PLS ratio in the new pool in PulseX. This means if there are 15 million hex in the pool, there has to be 297 million pulse on the other side. Now we can use the price of hex to figure out the price of PLS. Hex's price at the time of this writing, 2.5 cents. If we divide that by a ratio of 19.5, we should get a price. That price is 0.0013 as of today, which is basically the same number as was calculated previously, which is pretty shocking. And you can check the math yourself. I thought it was supposed to be 10,000x on each side, not 1,000x. But yeah, I mean, this is going through the method, and that's the most important thing. We do not know exactly how much time we have before Pulse Chain launches, and so the prices and ratios could change. I do not think that this is 100% accurate, but it does get me excited, says Cryptographics. Thanks again for reading. Let me know what you think, if Pulse will launch, and if you have a different way of predicting the data.
That's really funny, because the fact that this was posted within a day ago, I don't know why, but I was thinking about the same exact thing. Basically, I did the math again today, and I didn't even see his tweet until just now.
What do you got?
So my basic prediction is 4 zeros and basically a 1. And the way I basically calculated is I kind of just think that we're not going to go below the SAC price. I just feel like I'm going to get 1-to-1 value minimum. I think the value will be more than I put in, but I think we should get at least a 1-to-1 minimum value. So
you've unlocked the third way to calculate that I see, and yeah. So, but it's 3 zeros and then a 1, not 4 zeros.
Spreadsheet if you want to see it.
Oh, because I divided the amount I sacrificed by the amount of points I got. And I did get bonus points, and I calculated out to 4 zeros and a number.
I just
get a 1-to-1 value.
You might have miscalculated.
Yeah, maybe. I got 3 zeros as well, Patty.
Yeah, because it was the base rate was it was 10,000 points for every dollar.
Mine's super basic.
But that's not what I'm calculating it by.
But most people got a little bit of a better rate than that.
Yeah.
And so then oh yeah, I guess it would make it so maybe you got like 10 times cheaper is what you're saying?
I don't know. I just think I'm just adding in all of my bonus extra points on top of the SAC points I got, and then I'm just dividing that by how much
that could be. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And so what that basically means is that, if we do 2 zeros and a number, that's like a 100x from the get-go. Well,
It is.
from my sacrifice, at least.
Right.
And so, and that's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, man, I can kind of honestly see this thing launching at a 100x, especially because of how many people sacrificed money way after the deadline. I could see us launching at 100x and then seeing a massive dip and then seeing it where it goes from there. That was my kind of, thinking.
Yeah, I did a calculation on this way back in, it looks like April of 22. And I figured that on a $13.8 billion in the Pulse sacrifice. I'm not sure where I got that number. And then the Pulse supply was 128 trillion approximately. So that worked out to 30107 is basically what that calculation came down to. And then
Wait, say again what it was at the actual price.
The price was 3010778.
Okay.
And then for Pulse X SAC, I did the same thing because I was just thinking, okay, what's the total dollar value of the SAC? What's the total Pulse X supply? Simplest way to calculate it's divide the two, and that should give you your estimated cost per unit, right? So for Pulse X, it looks like we had $55.4 billion in that sacrifice. The Pulse X supply I have as 131 trillion. So that actually makes the estimated price on that 42058. So about a 4x over the price of Pulse because of that ratio. Yeah, but that's what I came up with. I just tried to keep it simple. I didn't think about looking at my own, but what Briz was saying makes sense because it's like if you got a good multiplier, then your cost basis should be considerably better than the overall average. So,
well, and if you calculate your own, then you're going to see possibly what a typical person paid that's not being diluted by the OA, you could say, or maybe diluted really isn't the right term, but it's just harder to calculate because people make different assumptions about the game theory of how that account will act. But what we do know, as Toby just laid out, is that the origin address daughters did sacrifice way more for Pulse X than Pulse because presumably the market was higher at that point and other factors. So,
yeah,
cool.
And I think like the underlying question is like, what are individuals break even? So like the logic would be no one, unless they are in dire straits and maybe overcommitted and have to have that money back, even if they're going to take a loss, would sell at below what their cost basis is. So, the
wait,
logic,
say that again.
Well, unless they're in dire straits and like they overcommitted, they took out a loan, they did something they shouldn't have to sacrifice as much.
People sell for lots of reasons that don't include that. I mean,
well, yeah, but I mean, like, but to sell below your cost basis, like, why else would you sell at a loss? I mean, you wouldn't sell at a loss
because Luna
unless
failed and it
Wow.
won't go over your cost basis.
Right.
Well, define cost basis, right? So if you were following this channel and you heard about the sacrifice early and you took some of the other discussions and bought X, you might have been up 6x.
Oh yeah. Right.
At the time. So what is your cost? I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
The
Right.
technical cost basis, I mean, you could argue about that, but some people might look at that kind of funny,
Yeah,
they got three times as much and be willing to sell.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
just
that's not my plan.
No, mine either. I have no intent on getting. I mean, luckily, I'm not in a position where I'm desperate. But it's like the only reason it would make sense for people to sell at a loss, in my opinion, would be as if they're desperate for some reason. They had an emergency of some sort, or they're overcommitted. Or
people will sell just because the price goes down.
Well, yeah,
they'll sell. They'll sell.
Right,
They'll panic and they'll sell even though they don't need to because they want lower price because they want to buy at lower prices.
Yeah,
because they think that they're going to be a genius trader and stuff. Right. And like,
that's true.
So,
that's true. There's a lot of that.
I mean, there's hackers who are going to try to sell right away and people who are short-term minded and that just makes it so much sweeter for the patient people.
Right. But Brizz's example is a really good one, because like if his personal basis is 10 times better than the average, then he would be more likely to be taking profits long before other people may, right?
Whoa,
Because he would be in profit before the
Stop
majority.
with that
So
bullseye on my back.
no, I'm just saying, it's like there's
It's
people out
Crispy
there.
taking the profits.
Well, whomever, it's not
I'm just
necessarily you, and your math could be wrong. Maybe
Uh,
I don't know, but yeah, I'm curious to like go into my own SAC checker and see kind of what my personal cost basis would be. But yeah, it's going to be wild and woolly, that's for sure. All the more reason for people to like get in there and start playing around with the front ends and like know what the fuck they're doing, because you don't want to be scrambling with technology you're not familiar with, especially if you're in panic mode. Because like Maddie was just saying, maybe the price is falling. You're like, oh god, I got to get out, and then or you think you're so smart that you can get out and get back in lower, for the same amount of money and get a bigger bag. And then you don't know what you're clicking and don't know how to navigate the new front ends. And then, maybe your timing was good, but you fucked up because you weren't, you don't know how to use the tools properly. So it's going to be wild, man. I'm ready. I'm bored out of my fucking mind. It's like the last year and a half has just been a grind. It's like, I'm ready for, some real stuff. It's like everything else has just been like fluff. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a lot of, I don't know. I shouldn't say everything. I mean, there's been some good stuff that's happened. I mean, there's the events that we've had, and different conversations that I've listened to or been part of, and cool art. Like Briz is coming up with cool art. The Hex Fire stuff's really neat to like flesh out and learn more about. But it's like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I speak with for a lot of people, and I'm like, I'm ready for it to launch so we can actually do stuff.
My body is ready.
My mind
You guys
is
have
willing, but my
unlocked
body is weak.
the next topic, which is
Yes.
Buckle up.
buckle up. We've entered the toughest phase of the bear market. Welcome to stage 3. As a reminder, stage 1 was the unwind. The excitement and greed from the bull still existed. Narratives popped up, valuations got cut, but companies didn't kill products or do layoffs. Stage 1 didn't feel like a bear. It felt like we pulled back to realistic valuations. Stage 2 was forced capitulation. This is where it got ugly. Narratives died. Prices fell 90%, and then another 90%. Layoffs across the board. Mainstream media rose up, laughed, shouted, "I told you so." In stage 2, prices crashed violently. Excitement was replaced by anger. Great thread here by somebody named Yano on Twitter. Shout out to you. We're now out of stage 2 and into stage 3, according to Yano. Welcome to bottomless exhaustion. There will be no more narratives. Prices will consolidate sideways. It'll be boring. Where we're at now, anger has been replaced by silence. From max pain to max exhaustion, your enemy is now apathy, Tobiwan Hexobi. This is the toughest part of the bear market. This will be the year you work long days and ship great products only to see your key metrics go down day after day. Your friends will leave. Your coworkers will leave. You'll question every assumption you had about crypto.
Can I jump in right here?
Please.
I just want to say, and this is the part of the timeline where people go, well, maybe I should try trading. That's where you get wrecked. This is right here in this point right there. Go ahead.
Don't do it. In bull markets, you can be productive on a Tuesday and see the outcome of your efforts by Wednesday. In bear markets, you won't see the outcome of your efforts for another 12 plus months. It's effing draining. But bear markets don't test talent, they test perseverance. I'm here to remind you that it is worth it. Anyone who has been through it before will tell you it's so incredible, so incredibly worth it. I can assure you there's no better feeling than seeing everything you built in a bear pay dividends in the bull. And if you don't believe me, think in terms of regret minimization. How will you feel when the next bull market comes and you've gone back to your TradeFi or SaaS job? Many talented people left during the last bear. Those who stayed were rewarded. If you're feeling dejected now, that's okay. I'm on dozens of calls every week. Trust me, everyone is feeling it right now. You just need to find a way to survive, build value, and power through. Things will get worse before they get better, but we're in this together. Somebody, not sure how to pronounce it, said it well. Simply being aware of this exhaustion gives you massive edge. And this person had been saying, it's a QWQIAO, said, for crypto professionals, the second year of the bear market tends to be the most painful one. It's the year of apathy. There seems to be no light at the end of the tunnel, but simply being aware of this gives you a massive edge. Year 3 will get much better. Back to Yano. I said it 7 months ago, and I'll say it again. We're building an open, permissionless world. This will take decades, not years. If you're feeling dejected, close the computer, zoom out, go for a walk, touch some grass, jump into an ice bath. Don't give up. There you go. As performed by Matty Allen. Thank you. Thank you. Crowd goes wild. Hits the like button and subscribes.
Well done.
Like button.
Maddie should read a version of Sci-Vive.
Yeah.
Richard just said he doesn't want more guys reading that.
Sausage.
Surprise.
I've been kind of thinking about what Yano was talking about lately too, because I've been kind of looking back on my own journey into crypto, because I've been in the space since late 2013, right? Like quite a long time. And I really started off as a paycheck to paycheck guy, just putting in, I'd get my paycheck, I'd pay rent, I'd pay all my bills, I'd buy a bunch of beer and whatever, have fun. And then when I got my next paycheck, whatever I had left of the last one, I just threw that all in the crypto. And I was always living paycheck to paycheck. So in my opinion, I was like, if this stuff fails, who cares? I just lost 1 month of a little bit of money. With that said, the markets went up and then they crashed back down. I remember when Bitcoin went from 1,200 down to 300, and that was very painful.
Whoa.
But
ouch.
Yeah, but with that said, I mean, could you imagine going to that time and saying, hey, when Bitcoin hits 15 grand, people are going to be practically throwing themselves off of buildings, right? But with that said, I don't want to give out actual numbers, but F it, in 2017, when Bitcoin first hit 19,000, right? That was the first year, I became a millionaire on paper, right?
Wow.
And I was just like, and I had coworkers, they're like, sell it. And these are the kind of people that would never buy it in the beginning in the first place. And, back then we're like, hey man, this shit's going to 100 grand back in 2017. And so I held it all the way down. I had an 80% loss, but that 200K was now more than anything I had previously ever had, right? And now, you hold on through these bears, Bitcoin hits 69K. It's just, and now it comes down to 15K, and you just have more than the last bear market that you're in. And I see that with my holdings in HEX, is that it went way up and now it came way down, but it's still higher than when I initially bought into it. And I just know the next time it runs up to like $1.50, and it crashes down to 30 cents, and people are like, oh my god, I bought it 75 cents, I bought it 90 cents, and this shit's at 30 cents. Like, I got, they're gonna be crying, they're gonna be like scratching their eyes out, and you're just gonna be like, just don't worry about it. Like, the last bear market, it was at 2.5 cents, even dipped down to below 2 cents. And now this bear market, it's at 30 cents. So all I'm saying is each cycle, each wave, things go up and then they come down, but they're higher. They make higher bottoms. It's kind of like the stock market where it's like, yeah, that shit crashes every 10 years, but over the course of time, it's up and to the right. So
Amen to that.
don't get shooken out, guys. Don't get shooken
Yeah.
out. That's the point. Don't get
Hey,
shooken out.
No
to-
shook.
Good job holding.
Along those lines, Briz, it's like, I think, because I even went down this path myself thinking, okay, how many of us, hung on strong and even continued to buy and accumulate more, like after we even got signaled that the top was in for Bitcoin, right? I mean, that should have been a giant indicator for everyone that like, hey, as goes Bitcoin, as goes the rest of the market, we probably topped. Plus, there were other indicators, with everyone assuming that we'd hit the 10,000x, from the all-time low we did, not from launch, but from all-time low we did hit 10,000x. There were a lot of
Before
indicators.
Bitcoin topped,
Before Bitcoin topped, correct.
which
correct.
is very
By
unusual for an
a
alt.
month or two.
Very unusual.
Yep.
It's
Yeah, do you know
remarkable.
what? Back in the day, though, Litecoin was a leading indicator. Like when I used to trade, Litecoin would pump first, and then generally very shortly thereafter, Bitcoin would pump.
because
And then
it
would
has a
dump first.
halvening first.
Yeah, but I mean, even in shorter time frames, I mean, just like if I was trading like on a daily chart or something, it's like it would start to run a day or two maybe before Bitcoin moves would start, and then it would dump a day or two before. It was an indicator. But anyhow,
Interesting. Okay, thanks for
the-
sharing.
yeah, but I guess my point about what was going on with Hex and so many of us that kind of grinned and bore it, and were quite frankly exit liquidity for a lot of other people that were choosing to get out during since the all-time high. The logic would indicate like, hey, if that happens again, man, it's like I'm going to take my profits. I'm going to get some of mine off the table. Well, as I dug into that line of reasoning a little more, especially with people with bigger bags and that have been in for a long time, and especially people that have benefited from like the 10x or the 9x or 8x multipliers with Hedron, as the market recovers, there is a case for people of a certain level. The math that I did was like mid-level Dolphin. As we approach all-time highs again, if Hedron pricing and ICOSA pricing is proportional to what Hex does, depending on how much money you need to live, there are cases where those OGs will never, ever, ever have to touch any Hex. They could literally live off the gains of Hedron and ICOSA alone. If you do the math on someone with, say, 10 or 12,000 TShares that has the 10x bonus, those people are earning over 100 million Hedron a day.
You're talking about sharks.
Yep. So people that are like a low-level shark even. So that's 100 million Hedron a day, which is a lot, right? So, I mean, so you could go down considerably, cut that in half, right? So if you're earning 50 million Hedron a day as someone with 5,000 T-shares, which is considerable, I understand. That's still a lot, but that's a mid-level Dolphin, right? Why would they ever have to sell any Hex? I mean, unless they're like an Andrew Tate and they want like Lambos and Rolexes and all that other bullshit, but like how much money do you really need to live comfortably or do what you want to do with your life? So there are scenarios where, you would never have to take those profits. As tempting as it may be, being in a position to have never taken profits.
That's a
and then
hot
all of a
take,
sudden,
man.
we're back.
That's a really
Yeah.
hot take.
Yep.
I like that.
Well, people
I
don't
think
do the
that's
math.
true.
And then they think that the OGs are getting like just, people like me that never took profit are just like wringing their hands waiting to dump when we get our chance. It's not the case. It's just not the case. You just got to do the math. And and I mean, and I'm looking at guys above me on the chart too. Like in the rankings, which I'm looking forward to getting into the Hexfire IO stuff, because it's like those guys higher up the food chain. It's like it is nervy. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to dump on our heads? What are they doing? But it's like if you start to think about these ancillary plays, like how much of these other free airdrops did they get? What are they doing with those free airdrops? Are they using those to make even more yield for themselves? Are they staking their Hedron? Are they staking their ICOSA? Are they doing other stuff with these other coins that they got for
I'm
free?
swapping it for Hex.
Right. Yeah. Or are they doing that? Are they selling it to live on and leaving their Hex the fuck alone? You don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, but you have to consider those things, and then it's not as daunting. Like, because yeah, we had big bag holders dump large portions of hex? Yes. But look at the chart and look how quickly those things recovered. There's obviously lots of people ready to snap up those dips. So I think there's a lot of FUD out there, but most, like just like any kind of prejudice, it's based on ignorance. It's like the more you understand something, the less fearful you are of it. So like that's why I love things like Hex Fire. I like Briz digging deep into stuff. Maddie, you always, and so many others like the cryptographics guy. We have so many people
Did
in
you
this
say
community.
sharks are making 100 million hedron a day?
If they got the 10x multiplier, absolutely.
Nice. I just did the math on ethhex.com, and that's at today's prices. That's $164 a day.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. At today's
That's
price.
pretty much livable. Like I said, that's pretty much retirement right there, right?
Right. So that's what I'm saying. And people don't dig down and do the math on that. And that's where I got and actually I had a talk with GRC about this because it's like he had this mantra for a while, like that OGs were just like, the only reason they were pumping, trying to pump the bags is they were looking for people to dump on. And it's like, bro, it's like, have you done the math on this other stuff? And then as it finally kind of got through the filters, it's like he started to realize, like, oh, okay, then they're not as big. Because like the knee-jerk easy reaction is like, well, of course, why else would anybody continue to talk about this stuff unless they were just looking for their own exit? In most things, you're right. You want to buy something and sell it to somebody else for higher than you paid for it. But there are so many other ancillary plays within the Hex ecosystem in particular, it kind of turns that on its head. So it's
we're the crazy loon birds.
We're the loon birds. Yeah, totally right.
And you don't want to kill your golden goose. If you got something making you $164 a day, why kill the golden goose that's producing those eggs?
Yep.
Great point.
And so, in my opinion, like, they say we have like 100,000 people in the Hex staker class, and I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't feel like 100,000 to me. But when we get 1 million people in this ecosystem, everyone here is going to be so happy. Everyone here today is going to be so much happier with their portfolios. I can tell you that.
Oh, one quick add-in. We had a meeting, the producers and directors of Highest of Stakes. We had a meeting on Friday. I feel totally like Kinetics here. It's like there's stuff I can't say. However, I came away from the meeting very hopeful. Let's just say that. Can't drop any names, but I think
Netflix confirmed.
I'm not saying that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the thing is there are some things in the works that are beyond what any of us had anticipated. So I think it's going to be really, really good. The timeline, we're still leaning on the timeline of Q1, Q2 for some sort of premiere. But things change, and depending on how things shape up, that could get pushed. But hey, we are a community that has grown capable of showing that we can wait.
Patience.
Right. Delayed gratification. And honestly, I kind of feel like if the scenario that was kind of floated out there happens, the gratification would be off the charts for the delay that we're talking about. So I would almost personally, my vote was like wait to have a bigger splash. But it's all the cards are on the table right now, and there's lots of talks going on with our sales agent and various platforms and what have you. So it's like things are looking really, really exciting, and I can't wait until I can finally actually say some stuff. But right now, that's as much as I can.
It sounds like something changed.
Not necessarily. I think just some other opportunities have presented themselves. Let's say
that's a change.
To some degree. So it could be bigger and better than what we had expected. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I've created the conspiracy theory that Richard is timing the documentary. So please hurry up and release it so we can have Pulse Chain.
I don't think so.
A joke.
I think it could be a weird thing where things just sync up. I mean, because I've been saying for a while, I think, we're between March and May for Pulse launch. And, if we're not Q1 Dude. And we're Q2 on the documentary, then it would just happen to fall together. And then boom, there's Maddie's meetup in May. I mean, it would be
Dude.
really cool if everything just kind of like serendipitously synced up.
Dude.
Then
we've
all of
had
a sudden
that
you
shit.
can get your bank accounts connected with 0x Coast and
Yep.
everything else. You know,
I don't
all-
understand that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand that one completely either. I know they're doing some stuff with some on ramp ideas, but as far as the free wait token, I just know like the longer you wait to claim it, the more you get of it. So, and it's basically you're gambling because if you wait until we launch, then you don't get any. So you have to claim it before Pulse Chain launches, right?
I
Yeah.
think it's just a game for people to play. Like he's just like, hey, like claim this before Pulse Chain launches. It's just a game, I think. I don't know if he's building anything else on top of it. I don't know.
I love games where you get free hex because people airdrop you tokens that they made up.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you trade the made up tokens for hex and then you get more hex.
Somehow there's always a
Pretty cool.
pool of money behind them that you can extract and buy hex with.
Yep. It is odd how that works.
People are
out.
speculating. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, that's right. I came up with a new term recently. Instead of an RH maximalist, I came up with the term an RH maximizer. RH maximizer. So, if you take some of this free stuff and you're prudent, like Kinetics famously said that he waited until like $9 to sell his Pulse Doge. So if you look at the charts on that, he literally got 34 times as much hex as if he had sold it when it first launched at like around $1. Because hex was at like 14 cents or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
because
mean?
it's
Yeah,
because they
it's
moved
like,
against each other.
right. So it's like, so he was a maximizer in that scenario. He didn't dump immediately, and like looking back, it's like there were opportunities like that with Uniswap, with 1inch, with all of them. Like had you timed it right, you could have ended up with more.
Look, there are tons of wallets that I've gifted people that got more airdrop value than the hex I gifted them. There was like this like sweet spot with like, if you gifted somebody like, let's say $100 worth of hex back like, Christmas 2020, so almost 2021, I think. It's like they got a couple $100 worth of dog tokens for free, and then you take a little bit of that and you send it to the Pulse Chain sacrifice, then you get weight airdrop, and it's just, like the airdrops are wonderful. And
I checked out the calm token thing. That seems pretty cool. Like as I looked into it, it seems to me, because a lot of times I'm skeptical of these things because I'm like, are these encouraging good behavior, good hex staking behavior, right? It's like that's kind of always my basis of like, okay, is this a vampire attack of sorts? Is this going to lure people into trading? And I think anytime you create any token, there's going to be people that are going to speculate on that thing. But the underpinnings of it is it going to be net positive for hex at the end of the day? And with that one, like from everything I can see, it seems like it totally would be because it's encouraging people to do what we want and what's good for the space, which is to restake and to stake for longer and to stake for bigger, and you get rewarded accordingly. And then also, and you could speak to this better than I could, Crispy, it's like if you don't stake, like if you do your early start mint and you don't stake it, you can't get your end mint unless you have that same amount of your early mint staked. And the only way you can do that if you don't stake it immediately is by literally starting a new hex stake of similar size and weight and then staking those COM tokens. So you have those kind of in the bank when it's time to go end stake another hex stake. I know that sounds totally like a word salad, but if you dig into it, man, it's like I was pretty excited about it. I think it's like I don't know what the token's going to do, whatever, but it's but it definitely is a little bit of a weird game theory there to help people encourage them to do the right thing.
Feels like a Hedron 2.0. It's like
yeah,
you
there's
get
some
free
similarities.
coins
Wow.
for staking, but you got to do a 6-month or longer stake.
You could probably summarize it better than we're stumbling around trying to do, Crispy. Like, I mean, I know there are some similarities to Hedron, but it's like, to me, just generally speaking, I think it's good for hex. I think it's like,
Yeah, I don't think
people.
I don't think I'd call it Hedron 2.0, but it's connected to the hex system, right? And I would advise everyone do their own research. Go read their website. I have claimed my com. Pulse Police had done a review on it. I looked at the contract. I wasn't super concerned with it, but yeah, there's some interesting nuances to how it's set up, and you basically get bonuses for starting. You get a bonus for ending. You get a bonus for restaking, right? And then if you good account somebody else's stake, you can get a bonus for good accounting somebody else's stake. And so that's how it works, with the incentives being, and we won't go into all the details there, but the incentive being is to build a ladder, stake longer, hold longer, that type of thing. And so it's meant to reward stakers who exhibit what we consider to be the good staking behavior from the past, right?
There's no deadline to claim it except when your stakes end, I guess. So for those who are staked along, you can wait and see how it goes and be cautious and
right. And you do want to get it before it's late, right? So at the end of your stake, you do want to go, like if you had a little checklist, and we were talking about this in the Patreon the other day, if you have a little checklist, it might say step 1, go look at gas. Step 2, what's the price of gas you want to end now once you've been reminded of a stake. Go mint your com, go mint your hedron, whatever it is that a person might set up, boom, 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 so they don't forget to do all these things. It's getting a little complicated now, right? Easy to push a button, but on the com, you have to do it before you get to the 14-day expiration period ends. After that, you can go end my stakes, Matt. Well, you can't end it, but you can go GA my stake, and you'll get the bonus. I no longer get the bonus. So there's some incentive to keep the system clean built into that too.
Yeah, that's what I found interesting. And I thought, when I have the bandwidth for it, I thought, it'd be neat to come up with a tool where you could do the math on it and see, how it impacts your stakes, because it's going to be unique to everyone, right? Because it's like, if you're cleaning stuff up, it's going to benefit some people in the staking class more than others. And also depending what the gas is and how much yield you're gonna, or like what that bonus is you get by good accounting, as opposed to just doing it of your own accord, like John Wick famously did, and went and good accounted all those stakes before. This way, you actually have some incentive to do it because you get that com bonus. But it'd be interesting to do the math and see, for math nerds, to kind of crunch it down and see, like, where's the tipping point where it makes sense for me to do it on this level and on this level. Like, here's my bonus, here's my gas expense, here's how it actually affects the T-share rate going forward, and then ultimately my payouts in relation to everyone else's. But that hurt my head just describing it. I can't possibly start a spreadsheet on that tonight.
I'm going to hit the refresh button here, but the stream should continue. It's just glitching out a little bit.
I see.
What was your tweet about? You said I just clicked on it.
Oh yeah, it's like, gotta love free stuff that's actually good for HEX. I think when people finally understand COM, they will see how much it helps HEX stakers behave optimally.
Nice.
So, and then there's a link to the Communista app. So, and you can do a referral link as well, which is fun because that keeps people engaged. And it's net. There's no detrimental effect to the person that uses the link. So it's not like that referral bonus comes out of their end. Like, you still get all the COM that you would be getting otherwise. But if you use someone's referral link, then they get 1% of whatever it is that you meant. So that's a way to kind of keep people motivated to talk about it and share referral links and whatever. So.
Yeah. Did you see the post from Alex? Kind of a little funny about Capitalist Coin.
Oh no, I didn't see that. I should try to find that.
Yeah, I think it might be premature to say that anybody's doing anything, but he had thrown out the idea of making a coin that worked in concert with communists.
I'm looking at his Twitter right now. He's like, should I build something that burns communists, and lets
Com-
HSI stakers play the game?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. He was suggesting, allowing basically creating kind of the way I understood it, creating a dual system,
A yin yang.
new token, and you would either, if you were a COM holder, you could burn your COM to get the new token, or if you were an HSI holder, you could burn the equivalent COM that you would have gotten from an HSI for the new token. So I don't know if he's serious or not, but I laughed out loud when I read it, right? Because communist,
The Cold War,
capitalist,
right?
kind of like that.
The cold crypto war.
The irony of it all. Right? So it's pretty good. Maddie, we alive and well in the chat, or?
Well, this is the first time StreamYard has glitched up like this. It says that one person is watching, but on YouTube I can see 145 are watching live, and then it's not letting me see the comments anymore. So I've just opened up a separate window so I can keep an eye on the comments here, just in the YouTube tab. But yeah, now maybe I'll get a $50 refund from StreamYard and pump the hex price.
There you go.
No,
what I always do is I always open the stream in another tab, and then I pop the chat out. So then, because like when I maybe as the host, you can see and interact with the live comments, but from being a guest on your stream, we can see the live comments, but we can't comment. Like we can comment in private chat, but we can't comment on the live. So the only way we can do that is actually to have the chat open from YouTube. And then there's a little 3 buttons where you can pop the chat out. So I lay that over next to where I can see all of you guys, and then that way I can actually see their chat and interact with it instead of just seeing how badly I'm getting roasted. I can actually reply. Yeah.
And you can trash talk Brissology all at the same time.
We can fight on chat.
Speaking of fighting, what do you guys think of that fighting game with Richard?
Dude.
That was another one that made me laugh.
Wait, what happened?
Oh
You
wait,
didn't see the fighting
go
game?
to Nerd Girl's Twitter, and she has like a little video clip of it. It's fucking hilarious, dude. It is so funny, and it's like how did
I like
she
how
get
the names
a
have
test
been
of it?
changed. So it's not Richard Hart, it's Richard
no.
Diamond Hex.
That's funny.
And it's not Sam Bankman Fried, it's Sammy Bahama.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
And when
I
they
didn't
get
notice
punched
that.
and kicked, little coins fall out of them.
That's awesome. And then like he twerks on like after he wins the fight or whatever, he twerks on him. But yeah, it's on Nerd Girls.
If
Twitter.
the game
Let's see if I can find
developer happens to be watching this at this very moment, I think a great like intro to the fighter. I think Richard should have a bunch of bags in his hands, and then he drops them, and then he gets rid of the fight. I think that'd be a good intro for Richard Diamond Hex.
There it is.
Yeah.
Can you go full stream with her or full screen with her with the video?
I can make it a little bit bigger.
And is there audio with it?
Yeah, there is actually.
I'm not going to get a copyright strike over
got
this.
it, right. Because there could be like, got it. Diamond Hex Challenge 711. That's so funny, dude. And is he fighting
Sammy
Sammy?
Bahama.
Oh, he's fighting Sammy Bahama. That's hilarious. And then he's twerking it. That's ridiculous, dude. And that's the Atlantis Casino in the Bahamas, which is where he is. That's
I was wondering
funny.
where that was. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's the Atlantis
is that
Casino.
a place?
I've been there long ago. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty close to how it really happened.
Right?
Sure.
He
Hex
even
Cadet
has his
laid it
own
out pretty well.
outfit. I will
Wow.
pay microtransactions to get every Richard Hart outfit
No
if the
doubt.
developer wants to put that in.
Dude, I would totally buy that game.
That's
That would
so
be
fun.
That's crazy. Yeah, good stuff. So I wonder how she got like a free or like a what'd she get? She got the
Inside
demo. Somehow she was able to play the demo. I want that. Who's the creator? Cyber Arena at NFT? Is that who it is?
I don't know.
Yeah, I got a demo at cyberarena_NFT, new fighter game. So whoever that is. Doesn't look like they're a hexagon necessarily, but they definitely created a cool game. Worth a look.
Yeah. I don't know. On the com token, like I think it's a cool idea, but I don't really see the full mechanics of why it should be valuable. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm like I'm a hard sell. I like Hex.
I agree with you. To me, it looks like a dump coin.
Well,
It's
you know, I
like
thought the
there's
same
no.
thing. I thought the same thing, Briz, about that because it's like, how is this not just like a forever dump coin? But then the deal is like, you can do your start. Like, let's say you got 100, you're going to get 100 com for a given stake, and you do your start mint. You can get like 10% of them up front, so you'll get 10 of your com tokens now, and then at the end of that stake, you'll get the other 90. But the only way that you can get the other 90 is if you stake your 10 com tokens. Now, you can unstake at any time without a penalty. But the problem is if you don't have at least 10 com tokens staked when that hex stake ends, you can't get the 90. And the only way that you, so like if you get greedy and decide to sell your com token or whatever and end that stake of 10 tokens to cash them out, the only way you're going to be eligible to get those other 90 is if you have 10 com tokens staked. And the only way you can get com tokens staked is to have a new hex stake of equal or larger size and duration to then mint your start com tokens.
Or you just never take those 10 coins out to begin with.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
Yeah, personally, I'm like neutral on it. Like, you know, my position is like, I'm not going to sell it yet.
Right. Same. I mean, I'm just sitting on what I got.
But
you know,
I don't understand why people would buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% in agreement. It just, like I said, it just seems like an end of the line dump token.
Yep.
I mean, maybe people buy it because because it rewards people in the right way, and like that's a cool experiment. So
yep.
Let's see how it goes.
Richard put out the formula for a successful token, and it's basically you have to have a reason for someone to hold the coin when the prices go way up. And the main reason to hold Hex is because it's the golden goose that lays the golden eggs. You know, you keep generating money, so you just don't want to kill the golden goose. Other
better
coins,
than eggs.
It's actually, I don't know anymore. Eggs are pretty valuable.
I know.
Eggs, right?
6 months ago, man, you could have made a killing.
Yeah, right.
Going to the market on eggs.
You know, so you just kind of got to like think about these coins that they're offering you where it's like this is the end of the line. Like at least with Hedron, you can stake it and get Icosa. And then you go, well, Icosa is a dump coin. And it kind of is, but then you can kind of stake it and get Hedron. So Alex kind of made there a reason not to really dump your Icosa or Hedron. But at the end of the day, you kind of like, you're probably going to be dumping one or both of them. And so the same thing with communists, you know, and all these other coins that like, what is the point of holding these coins after you get them? And most of the time, it's staking.
Well, let me throw a theory at you. And hey, by the way, a public service announcement for anybody worried about the cost of eggs. Go look up how long eggs will last in the refrigerator. They will last a lot longer than you think. Buy low, eat high, right? So you got that. Because they'll last months. I'm not sure everyone knows that. That they'll last for months.
This is not food safety advice.
I hear a lot of Europeans store their eggs like not in a refrigerator.
Yeah, nice, cool place.
That's true.
That's what we did on board ship. They weren't refrigerated. All right, but it was close enough. It was cool enough temperature. Hey, so here's a theory for you, Briz, on what you're talking about, right? So first off, Hex is the best ever. We really don't need any other token, right? We don't need any other coin. So we know that's the primary. So why all these secondaries? Well, if somebody in our our community doesn't make these secondary coins. Somebody else does, or secondary tokens, and money gets diverted off into that direction. Value gets diverted in that direction. So perhaps one way to look at it is, yeah, we want more of these things because we don't want things to show up in the ecosystem that are going to draw away. So so this Matty might be an argument for why it's a little bit more positive than just neutral. It is going to tend to keep money within, value within our ecosystem. I guess you could argue back and forth, but if I create Starship coin or token, where's that go? It goes somewhere else, right? I
To the
create
moon.
some other weird name that's outside of there with no intention of putting it on Pulse, no intention of keeping it related to Hex. So I guess you could look at how things are related to Hex and how closely they're related as to whether you can say that. Because I think and Briz, the point I was going to get to is this: at some point, there's too many. I can't look at them all.
Yeah.
I'm already past that point. There's
Fatigued.
probably at best 3 or 4 I can keep track of and kind of like manage to get my head around. And so if there are 12 that are all closely related and related to X, I guess that's where I'm staying. I mean, even if I like to say I would never look at another girl, but it happens, right? So
I guess one way to combat that theory of if we don't make it, someone else will make it. The only thing I can say to combat that is that Alex of Hedron, I really like him as a developer and a person, and I'm so happy that he's a Hexagon. And I don't want to dump his coins. I want to dump someone else's coins that I don't know and I don't like. So I want those people to give me free money so I can dump on their heads. I don't want to dump on Alex.
yeah, I hear you. I mean, it's a circular conversation, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
what we
I
want
don't know. I just
to,
kinda,
what we all know and we want to avoid is that the way value gets transferred is people buy high and they sell low. That's how value gets transferred. And so don't like that. I don't like it when it happens to me. I don't like it when it happens to other people, but I like buying low and selling high. So how does this all work, right? It's part of a market and how it cycles,
Yep. Yep.
the whole idea of like all these coins is like here's an idea. People go, oh, you get Hex and you get more Hex, and then you sell that and it dumps the price. But when you get your interest accrued or your yield, instead of dumping it for the dollar bills and then lowering the ratio and lowering the price of Hex, if you just actually gave those coins to someone that, like, if you bought goods and services with those coins, that means those coins don't actually hit the market, and therefore they don't ever lose their value, and you just kind of use them as trade basically. And that's the real goal that we need to get everyone on board with, is using cryptocurrencies as currencies, because every time you sell it for USD, you're just driving down the price. And I love the idea of diamond hands, but unfortunately, there's people who just dump at the top of the markets, driving down the markets, and it makes the diamond hand holders look like jackasses, as they lose 80 to 90% of their bag value.
You know what? That's funny. I'd never really thought about it that way because I mean, obviously, as new people come into the ecosystem, they want to build a staking ladder, so they have to get Hex. So as opposed to them using, let me think about this. So if they were going to buy it, then that would offset people that were selling it. However, in your example, if they were going to kind of subvert the fiat system entirely and just trade whatever goods that they have or services they have that you want, instead of you selling that and then them having to buy it on the open market, they end up with a Hex bag that then they could stake to build their ladder, and then you don't have that sell pressure. And theoretically, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. But I like kind of where you're going with that. Like it makes sense. Yeah.
It's kind of like, the problem a lot of times people had back in the day when they're like, use your Bitcoin as currency. It's like every time you gave your money to a vendor, the vendor would dump it immediately.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
That's how commerce works.
Well, is
yeah.
it like didn't Funding Jim famously, like, he had tenants? I think he had like rentals. I might totally be talking out of my hat here, but I
You're
thought he had
correct.
rentals. Yeah, and he gave them a
Yes.
discount if they paid in HEX.
Yes. And
Yeah.
then they had to pay less and less, or yeah. Wait. They had to pay a different amount as the price was going up, and that made them like consider how valuable HEX was becoming. And I think that allowed them, because he did that so early on, that allowed them to like get in still at a good price.
Man, why didn't my landlord ever give me free HEX when I paid rent?
Right.
I wish I had Funding Jim as a landlord.
Yeah. Okay, you guys are begging for my Hedron strategy. Well, I'm staked like 10 years on average. So that means if we're 2 or 3 years in, then I still have 70% of my Hedron locked into the future. So I can sell as much as I want now and not regret it. So yay, buy more HEX. Stop vampire attacking everything.
One of the strategies I did when I staked out my HEX ladder was I'm like, just in case I get lettuce hands and I sell all of my HEX out early for one reason or another, I want to make sure that I still got a good amount of HEX.
What did
So
you
I just
do?
basically I staked a certain amount of HEX every 6 months. So I would have a big chunk of HEX coming out every year. And, let's just say if HEX ever gets to $1, I'm going to be a happy guy. So I just did that. I'm like,
When?
Yeah, when it gets to $1. When.
Absolutely.
Not even if. I said when, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. If isn't even a question in my mind. It's just a matter of when.
I mean, I would legit be shocked if at least between the two chains, we don't hit all-time high. Like, once we get our copy and everything kind of starts popping off with that, like, collectively between EHEX and PHEX or whatever you want to call them, if together those aren't at 52 cents or whatever our all-time high was, I would be absolutely surprised that, when Pulse launches, if we don't get there really quickly.
Hey, look.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Hexo, he mentioned something about, like when someone dumps 100, like when a single hexagon dumps 100 million HEX, that's one guy, hurting the market or whatever. But 1,000 people end up buying up all of that HEX. So now in the next bear market, it's going to take over 1,000 people to all dump to do the same equivalent that one guy did. It's just going to get more and more dispersed, and hopefully the dumps become less and less volatile.
Yeah, that was a tweet I put out earlier. I think it was last night maybe. And it was funny because it's like Freddie didn't read thoroughly, but I think maybe got it after he read my follow-up tweets. But the thing was, imagine if you just heard of HEX for the first time and you knew that it would earn, on average, on a 15-year staking ladder, 38% APY, and the price would range between 3 and 15 cents. What would you do? Like, I know there's tons of moon math out there. It's super exciting. It's fun to think about another 10,000x from here. All that stuff's great. But I think so many people would dismiss it. Like, if you hear crazy moon math, you're like, okay, whatever. But if you give them like something realistic, which that is, right? And if you had never invested in HEX before and we're at less than 3 cents, and it's going to probably be between 3 and 15 cents, let's say forever, and you earn 38% APY for the next 15 years, what financial advisor would not be all over that for his clients to have at least as part of their portfolio?
I mean, the thing I like to do is to talk about what is known. Like, there are things in HEX that are known that can't be known in other cryptocurrencies. We don't even have to talk about the dollar price. Like, Nobody knows what any cryptocurrency is going to be worth in 10 years. It's impossible to know. But there are things that are possible to know in HEX in terms of what the supply might look like within a particular range. Like you can narrow in, and that's an extremely powerful thing to have a chart of future market supply, to have a pretty much a smart contract that is more reliable than the policies of any particular government, to be able to tell you, yeah, if you're more long-term, you're going to have more of a share in the end. And that's powerful financially. And the more ways that we can find to explain it to people, I think that's the real magic, is like what can be known. And if you look at like TShare.app, it was also kind of designed around part of that idea that that there are things that we can know about HEX. Like longer pays better.
Absolutely. And it's like, I mean, I'm just thinking about conversations that I've had with like actual financial advisors, and they glaze over and, you know, turn off when I start talking about moon math, or I start talking about copies on another blockchain. Like all of it's too much. So it's like, if I just kind of break it down with like, you know, here it is, and like imagine the price stays flat forever or gets less volatile, like Briz is saying, but you know from the code that you're going to get more of these coins, you know, as yield every year that you're staked. You know, how is that not enticing? How is that not something that you would want to learn more about? And like,
because you would assume that the price of the coins is going to keep going down, because you wouldn't realize like what an opportunity it is to have trustless yield embedded into crypto, when yield is so suspicious in crypto these days.
Right. But it begs the next question. And then the next question can explain that, right? And then you can explain to them like, well, the inflation is only paid to stakers, so therefore it's kicked down the road. So it's not going to be dumped on the market immediately. So it opens the conversation. Like that's my whole thing, is like, you know, how do I keep the conversation going? Like what do I present to someone that's going to be believable and honest? And then we can start talking a little more. And it's not like Shiba Inu is going to go to the moon, so buy it now because it's going to be blah. It's like, nah, it's like, let's talk about like what, like you said, like what's known about HEX, the things that are quantifiable, provable, that we know now and that historically have been borne out. And then you can talk about them, about more of the stuff. And it's like, you know, just like Briz was saying earlier, and I've heard other people talk about how, like, you know, typically what do? You start off in crypto and getting into the bigger things. You get a little Bitcoin, you get a little Ethereum, whatever, and then you start to dabble and reach out and expand your knowledge base. You know, it's the same thing. It's like there's some of these financial advisor people that I talk to that are worth, you know, they manage hundreds of millions of dollars, and they don't understand crypto. Like it sounds too pie in the sky to them. They just don't get it. So it's like, how do I crack that door? So that's something I've discovered that has facilitated deeper conversations with those people.
Here's something I found extremely interesting. The guy that originally got me into crypto entirely, he told me about Bitcoin in early 2013. And he was like, hey, I'm going to buy some shrooms off the darknet. I was like, good luck with that, buddy. Right. And then like 6 months later, I see Bitcoin on the Jon Stewart show, that when he was hosting the Daily Show. I was like, man, what is this Bitcoin thing? Let me look into it. And I spiraled out of it. Anyways, I was talking to that same exact guy maybe like a weekend or two ago. And, you know, I was just talking to him about crypto. I'm like, I just mentioned, you know, the scarcity of Bitcoin, right? And he just could not understand the fact. I basically told him, I'm like, you know, there's only 21 million Bitcoin. And he's like, well, because you can divide them up 100 million times, there's more than 21 million. And so I'm like, well, no, there's still only 21 million.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, there's more than 21, so it's not scarce. I'm like, you're arguing that there's 12 inches in a foot, but I'm saying there's still just 1 foot. But you're like, there's more. You know, there's 12 inches. He just could not get this scarcity thing beyond his. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're definitely right that Bitcoin being subdivisible does not matter to the price. However, I would argue one of the things that Bitcoin has, I don't think, ever adequately addressed is the fact that there is no limit of people who are able to make a coin that has different properties of Bitcoin that still capitalizes on the technology of preventing double spends. And so, I mean, so that's kind of like, so I think your friend was wrong in the sense of the exact argument that they were making against like Bitcoin scarcity. But I think that to me, and maybe you guys can bring up points on why you think that that it matters that there are only 21 million Bitcoin when you can take the same technology and apply it with Hex, apply it with other cryptos that are not, there's an endless amount of cryptos that can be created.
Yeah, my main argument behind that is that that's okay if people create new and more coins. Like that's going to be a thing, and it's just because we have silver doesn't make gold obsolete or
That's
any
true.
less valuable. And we have platinum and other precious metals, but there's still these other precious metals that still hold their value because they're not the other thing. And in my mind,
Right.
there's just so much money on this planet that hasn't even entered the crypto space, is that there's just, in my opinion, there's enough money for everything. It's just the money hasn't shown up quite yet. Like a lot of money has, but only a drop of this planet's money has gone into crypto. I mean, in my opinion, we are just so freaking early.
I think like if people don't work, then there's nothing to buy. And so that, but there's good news that, people need something to do, even if they're rich. Like, and, like people feel more fulfilled and they feel more happy when they have something to do. Even us all getting together here, providing our commentary for like a small university worth of people every week who watch this show. It's like incredible value that's being created, like, without all of us like punching a time clock or something. And, for some, this is a hobby. For some, this is, like, this is one of the main things that, people do is stream in the Hex community. And so that's providing value. But I think that, when we think about all the money in the world, we can recognize that that is backed by goods and services, and that it doesn't have to be that you work a job that you hate and there's a life after getting out of the weekly grind. And it can be a transition, and it usually takes a couple cycles in crypto to get free of actually following the right people and not getting scammed. And so I think it's really cool that they were able to have these conversations, and that Tobiwan is and Bristology are both like, they're making their case for crypto to the people that they know who aren't into it yet, or their Bristology is examining like how he got in and how that unfolds with even the person who got you in. That's really interesting. So this person was okay with using Bitcoin to buy mushrooms, but they still, and that was back in 2013, but still they don't see the value. And that is something that could change, right? Like that person could get it at some point. If Sam Bankman-Fried and Tom Brady and everybody stops like working together to like give crypto a bad name, then maybe crypto would get a good name one of these days.
It's always been my opinion that I really think cryptos are going to bring the next renaissance. The next renaissance where we're just going to have so many people making art, like this stuff and all kinds of things. I mean, when I kind of think about like the Michelangelo doing all those sculptures like of David and just all those like really like all the sculptures that you see from the Roman ages, you got to remember that the only reason why they were able to make those sculptures is because someone else was out there farming the fields. Someone else was out there making his clothing. Someone else was building his house while he studied sculpturing, you know? And so I don't know where I was really going with that, but I just think there's going to be a new renaissance.
Crypto renaissance.
Yeah, there's going to be a new renaissance. There's going to be so many people not working, and they're going to be doing stuff. You know, they're going to be probably doing artsy fartsy crap. You know, hopefully it's not monkey JPEGs, but but who knows?
But it could be.
It could be. That might be the renaissance of our generation. Monkey JPEGs.
Well, and
hit the like button if you like
Absolutely,
what
like
we're
and
talking
share.
about here.
But the other thing about AI, because I
More monkeys.
was trying to be funny, and I don't know how many people got it, but I misspelled some stuff in a really short tweet, which was the underlying idea was like, what impact will AI have on crypto, right? And then I did a misspelling on the front of it just to try to be funny, because like the AI would have corrected that. But anyhow, but the question remains, like, you know, what impact will AI have on that? And it's like, I think it's not just directly how it will impact crypto and what kind of cryptos will be available and how crypto can be utilized in our society, but also what it's going to do to the broader, you know, society as far as making people have more free time as jobs become obsolete. And, you know, we have, like, one of the things in the industry that my family had been in before we sold our company was distribution. So one of the things that was on my radar was, like, you know, automated trucks, like semis, like, you know, what's going to happen when that becomes more of a real thing. And, you know, it's not like you're going to take a 50-year-old trucker and tell him to go learn to code. You know, I mean, those guys will knock your teeth out. You know, it's like it's going to be an industrial revolution type of upheaval, I think, on a lot of levels. However, if things are done properly and people's standard of living is not impacted as much when those kind of upheavals occur as jobs go away, I think you'll mitigate that. But I think it's imperative that you find ways for people to be able to utilize that new found time well. Because how do you, I mean, Maddie, you could speak to this probably better than anyone. You know, how does people, how does someone kind of evaluate their self-worth, right? Or, like, you know, what their purpose is in life. I mean, for men in particular, it's always been, you know, what do you do? You know, what do you create? Like, what's your job? You know, who do you provide for? How do you do that? That is kind of who you are. So if all of a sudden, you know, your job is not even, it's obsolete, what do you do with that extra time? So maybe you, and listen,
I have
there's
an
a lot of
idea.
people, let me finish this thought, and I'd love to hear it. My tax attorney, I was talking to him, you know, back when, you know, we were at all-time highs and I had all these paper gains, and I was telling him about how I had these ideas about some philanthropic stuff I wanted to do. And he said, man, that's so great, because there's so many people he knew that were multimillionaires. Some were doctors, and, you know, some had gotten rich in other ways. Sports, you know, he had a lot of professional athletes that he works for, and are now retired with tons of money, and they're miserable people. And it's because they don't have a purpose. So they have all this money. They kind of go through this cycle of getting all the boy toys and doing all the stuff that you think that you want to do. And then because they're not keeping their minds active and they're not being productive contributors to society, they kind of become like 13-year-old mush-brained idiots. And then they become horribly depressed. And he even had one guy that committed suicide that was worth like over $100 million. It's like he had everything you could imagine that anyone would want, and the guy was so miserable. So I think that's a bigger question, right?
He beat the game. What else was there to do?
Right.
In
What
his
was
opinion,
left for him? Right.
Yeah.
And then in a smaller way, like, if all the jobs go away, or not all of them, but a lot of them go away because of AI, and okay, we get
so Toby, before you
income, then
before you go on to the next subject, I just want to go back to your question about what do we do when you don't have anything to do. And I actually kind of thought about this a little bit, and I think everything will go to handmade, artisanal, you know, crafts. We'll stop doing all this like mass produced, you know, Chinese plastic bull crap, and we'll be more about like hey, look at my custom made, wood table covered in epoxy type of deal, where everything that's really cool is going to have to be handmade. Uh, you know, Otherwise you're just pumping out IKEA crap. That's
Right.
kind of the way I thought about it. It's like people are going to go back to just making stuff
That's
with their
that's
hands.
a great point, because I was thinking about that as like one of my things always. Like, I never imagined I'd be retired this early, but I always thought, like, when I did, I've always enjoyed woodworking. So I thought, kind of peripherally, it's like I haven't done a lot of it, but I've made a little bit of furniture and I've done some other stuff, and I thought it'd be cool to get more into that. And that in and of itself is hugely gratifying, like more so than what I could get to sell it, but just to make something, like something
Yeah.
physically that didn't ever exist until I thought it up and like made it with my own hands, is hugely gratifying. So I think that that's something that's going to have to be addressed in society, because it's almost like the lottery winner thing, where people win the lottery and then they're dead in like a year, or their horrible things happen because they have all this wealth and they don't know what to do with
Sudden-Will
it.
syndrome.
Bingo, right? Bingo. So like, what do you replace that part of you as a human being that isn't about earning money for your time, right? So
I think at that point, you kind of just trying to figure out how to help your community, like your physical community around you. Who said it? Ash Tree said, growing your own food is a great hobby. So, I mean, think about it. When you're financially well off and you're just sitting at your house all day, who knows? Maybe you just start like a big ass garden in your backyard. You can afford it. And all of a sudden, you're handing out food, your excess food to your neighbors and stuff. And you find community. I don't know. Maybe that's something that can come of this.
yeah, it's good ideas.
Stay humble. Don't become bitter and isolated and depressed. Have to stay grounded for sure. And yeah.
But also get your friends and family in, because it's very lonely at the top.
Totally. I mean, I jokingly say that all the time when I tell people about this stuff. I'm like, it's no fun getting rich alone. You know what I mean? It's like it's fun to have someone along for the ride, even if it's a small bag that I gift to them. It's like, and
Yes.
then yeah, it's like then they can kind of see what it's about, and maybe it'll pique their interest and they'll want to learn
Yeah.
more. Yep.
$100 worth of Bitcoin, 3 years in, sitting pretty good right now. So
Yep. Indeed.
get your time locks in now. And then there's all these people who go around slandering and saying bad things about Richard, and either he made you rich or you really messed up. If you're in that category of people who should know better, should be, I don't know, should be more grateful. I'm not sure. It's just like, yeah, some people will know who I'm talking about. Some people won't.
Yeah, I can see I mean, I'm not sure exactly who you're talking about, but it's like I know one guy in particular that catches a lot of heat.
Trayvon.
Oh,
it's different. Like, I'm seeing people lose loyalty who I never thought would lose loyalty.
Oh.
But then it's totally different to be like talking shit. And I don't even watch people who have lost their way that much.
Right.
Because there's so many good people to watch who have not lost their way. The
right.
content that's out there in the HEX community is really, really great right now. So
I'm really liking Furu Finance right now.
Yeah, Furu
That
Finance,
guy's
he's
really
good,
cool.
good stuff.
Furu,
Well, Maddie turned me
doing
on
awesome, brother.
Hexologist conference. Hexologist back at it, making me crack up like
Crypto
daily.
Coffee 369.
I was just listening to him before I got on here.
Yep,
that's right.
MNRH Max.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And cryptographics is kind of back in the fold because he kind of fell away a little bit, it seemed, for a time, and then it seems like he's kind of seen the light and come back around to really promoting Hex and talking about Pulse Chain.
ATX. That guy's been he's been on fire.
Yep. Access Alive, I always enjoy his contributions to things. It's like there's just so many good people. I mean, SJ's out there doing it. I mean, I love her to death. It's like I really appreciate the different angle that she kind of brings into all of it, which is more qualitative than quantitative, if that's a way to put it. Because it's about kind of the psychological aspects with all she's done with Sci-Vive and stuff. and I don't know. I mean, I love this community so much. It's like it's been a huge part of my sanity keeping the last the last bear market especially. But can't say enough good things about it. And I really wish that people would just take time to not be so quick to judge people, because I know like Abit really got a hard time, a while back when Richard went on his unfollowing spree, and he caught a lot of shit. But it's like, those guys.
I think people should be judged.
I mean,
I'm on the other side of this argument from you, my friend.
That's okay, and that's good.
I think people should be judged based on their loyalty and based on how much they trash talk somebody, and like, whether you're participating in Vampire Attack or not. Look, it's hard. Right. I get it, but Hexologist was unfollowed by Richard in the early days of Hex. The lore tells us, and then he repented and was reformed and stopped trash talking Richard about 2 more weeks for Hex, like WTF, this and that. Yeah. And he was redeemed. And we've seen redemption stories, and that's the best arc you can have other than just being tried and true. So
I've heard almost all of the OGs at one time or another were banned from the hex.com Telegram group. I wasn't, but I heard almost all of the other OGs were, just because they were being funny or something. But after a while, they're like, please let me back in, and Richard said, all right, I'll give you another shot. And now they're all legends.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. I always just try to put in context, like, or I try to imagine why someone is talking the way they are about a given thing. So, it's like if, there's people that are really, like, best example I can think of is Gunther. It's like, I've talked to Gunther personally. It's like, I think Gunther's a nice guy. It's like, but I think he went way too hard, like on Twitter. I think it was really disrespectful the way that he came at Richard. But at the same time, it's like, I can understand. I mean, the guy's got big bags. He's very invested. He's like 11-year average hex staker, and maybe there's more to it than that. But it's like, I tried to kind of qualify it, and I talked to him about it, and he backed off. Like, he realized it wasn't net positive for him or anyone else to continue to come at Richard and Hex like he was. But I understood the frustration. It's like he felt like, the outrage marketing and other things were not a good look. It was making his life harder to try to onboard and talk positively about Hex. So he lashed out about it.
Poor baby. He became a millionaire from Hex, and
and I get that side
too.
Now
he's trash talking the founder. Like, that's
right. But he's come back from that. It's like he's been much more civil as far as I've seen lately. But I can understand why someone would go that route. Like, they would be upset with, like, they don't like the direction something's going. So maybe that's what's the underpinning of them doing their thing. Or they're just genuinely curious, like Abit and Patrick, about other things. I mean, like, I don't necessarily think that makes them an enemy to the community. It's like, that's the thing that I don't like, is that if someone gets, ostracized because they have a different opinion, the people that are obviously like attacking the Hex community and like have obvious ulterior motives, then those people like Trayvon, it's like, I don't trust Trayvon as far as I could throw him. You know what I mean? Is he kind of funny sometimes? Yeah. But I mean, the dude's always working an angle, and it's like, if people don't see that, then I don't know what you've been watching. But but there's other people that I think kind of got caught up in the the crowd turned ugly and came against them. I mean, hell, I got a death threat.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's not
okay.
Okay.
It was stupid. I mean, it was like probably a fake account. Like, it was a brand new account that had just got started, and they didn't even have like a profile pic. But still, it's like, it's we
Toby, I was actually thinking about that a little bit.
Were you the guy?
And why would you tell your fiance about the death threat?
I thought it was funny. Like, initially I thought it was funny, and then I just kind of blurted it, and then she got really nervous, and then honestly I kind of got nervous for a minute. I'm like, that's kind of fucked up. There's some crazy people out there, and you don't really know. And then as I thought it through more, I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, somebody's just fucking with me, right? But I guess the long-winded point I'm trying to make is, like, I just feel like, we should try to be a little more understanding that behind all these things are human beings, and yes, I think people should be called out for if they've gone too hard, like me talking to Gunther, like, dude, you're going too hard. This isn't good. This isn't good for anybody. And we had a reasonable conversation about it. And within minutes, he, made his efforts to say that he was backing off on Twitter. So I feel like that, just not writing him off and refusing to communicate with the guy was a better option. I felt like it was better to try to communicate. And same with like Abit and those guys. It's like, I don't necessarily agree with some of the things that they're seemingly in support of, but I like them as people. I understand what they're trying to do. And I think that overall, are they net positive for bringing people to Hex? And I think that's the ultimate litmus test, right? It's like, are you going to be bringing people, like my thing, like the only reason I even talk to other communities at all still is because I want to make sure it's in their ear that at the core of all these guys, like Gunther, he couldn't do what he's doing if he didn't have a really robust staking ladder. Abit couldn't be talking about all these other things and benefiting like he has from things unless he was in early on Hex and had a really robust staking ladder. So anyone else that's following their later stuff that they're talking about need to be reminded, like at the core of all of this, you better have a good Hex staking ladder, And then if you want to go dabble with your free stuff or your own or your yield or fresh fiat, it's your money. Do what you want to do. It's not what I do. If you want to follow what I do, watch me for the last 3.5 years, and you'll see what I do. But it's like I think we just need to be a little less quick to grab a pitchfork and a torch. And
Pot of Gold in the chat, he asked a question. Says that Jack Levin says he's willing to be friends with RH and help build. Do you guys agree? Me, I say hell no.
Look,
you don't let
outrage marketing is a one-way street, and it goes to Hexaco. Okay, so anybody else who tries that by asking dumb questions can kindly move along with the flow of traffic, and that's going to Hexaco. It's not going anywhere else. It's not going to Zenico or anything.
Yeah.
I want to hear from ChrispyMan about the topic because he's my moral compass at times. What does he think about walking the line here with other coins and where the heart of the community is?
I don't know if I'm a moral compass at all, but hey, I'll tell you what I was thinking though as you guys were talking. I think people need to keep in mind. I think we should keep in mind, number one, this keyboard warrior stuff slants things, right? Because a lot of things get said that shouldn't get said, and people act the way they can because they're a little bit too impulsive. But also, just because one person says something doesn't mean everybody related to that person thinks the same way. I mean, there's many different people as our opinions. So, like for instance, these lightning strike comments about this community versus that community. I mean, there's thousands of people involved. They're not, we're not all the same person. We're not all wearing the same mask, right? So I think it's good to kind of like take a step back, treat people the way you want them to treat you. That doesn't mean there aren't a bunch of asshats out there and trolls, because there are, and they'll goad you. And, we have we have a good process in place, man. I see someone who's negative and down, I pull them out, man. I drop them out off my feeds. I mute them. If I need to delete them, I delete them. Whatever it is I'm in, whatever medium I'm in. And I move out. I move away from that. Stick with the positive. And I think your other question, you talk about generally about the community. The other question is about the coins. I think we're in a situation, like we said, we know what our coin is, our chosen protocol is, but we have to deal somehow with the fact that there's so many other things happening around it. And they, some of them are outright attacks, and some of them are, kind of ride-alongs. And I'm not smart enough to know how how all this stuff should really be, if there's a way that it's supposed to be. But I can't. But like Blanco said in the chat, I got no control over what 100 of these protocols do. I only have control over what I do.
Here's the joyous miracle to me was exemplified by the HEX conference. And, it somehow 69 different speakers came together who don't all only talk about HEX, and they got together and they only talked about HEX because it was a HEX conference, and everybody was super respectful and got along and worked together. And like, you know, how unlikely is that? It seems very unlikely that we would be blessed with such an amazing community. And you know, on that note, I also want to say about how unlikely the entire HEX community is to outsiders, because we saw today with this person who did a 3.5-hour interview with Richard. He was experiencing cognitive dissonance, which means your beliefs are not fitting together. Like the information that you're getting doesn't fit with your beliefs. And so your brain short circuits and you can't make sense of anything. And Richard was telling this man, he said, I've done analysis on the origin address. Daughter addresses are addresses that are linked together by a send, right? So we know that the HEX origin address, like, basically split into 2,000 different addresses along the way. And, you know, Richard was trying to explain to this guy, he was like, look, I've done the chain analysis and it doesn't look like any of those coins have ever been sold. And the guy literally came back and was like, oh, it seems really obvious to me that the origin address daughter or the origin address daughters are all actual payments to HEX influencers. And I'm just like, I'm so shocked. Like my jaw drops. Like it's just, that doesn't make any sense at all. First of all, I know you all think we're saints and we're all perfect and everything, but like, look, if I had hundreds of millions of dollars for the HEX, yeah, I would have sold more. And somebody would have sold one coin. Like there's billions of HEX in those daughter addresses. And like, so it's not even like, it's not even reasonable. Like it's literally impossible that those addresses would be controlled by all the different influencers in HEX who are just normal people who, you know, who invested their own money. And like, you can go back and see over time, it's really clear, but it's curious to me if maybe like the SEC thinks something like that and you know, how delighted they would be to find out that in fact, you know, I think we could say pretty confidently, just from a game theory point of view and just from like an on-chain analysis point of view, that it's highly unlikely or impossible to say that these HEX broadcasters have been paid with the origin address daughter accounts. And furthermore, what that leaves us with is this idea that still an unlikely thing happened, which is the community became full of people who are so passionate about HEX that they're willing to work for free. And the guy Richard was doing the interview with specifically mentioned, you have your own conference. And it's like, yeah, I put on the conference. I bought the domain name. I didn't get paid. And like, it's a beautiful thing. And so this like this unlikely thing of all these people volunteering to broadcast in HEX, like, yeah, it's true that we're talking our bags, but what other bags have been locked for so many years and we're all still here getting along to some degree?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you know, we're here because we like the product. You know, I forget what his name was, but he, you know, the GameStop guy, he was like, we like the stock. You know, like stop preventing us from buying it because we like the stock. We like the code. And I think one of the smartest things that Richard ever did, and truly what helped build this community, is when people were like, hey, Richard, you should make a statistics site. And Richard goes, oh, you want a statistics site? You should go do it. Hey, Richard, you should promote HEX at, like, you know, football stadiums or on the side of taxis. And Richard goes, "Oh, you want to see Hex promoted at football stadiums on the side of taxis? You go do it. I don't work for you." And quite honestly, I think that really kind of lit a fire under a lot of people's butts and got them to just kind of make stuff for the community. And I think that's probably one of the smartest things he ever did. Because you
What
don't
do you
hear
mean
other
there's no
founders.
company? What do you
Yeah.
mean?
What do you mean
There's
there's
no
no
company?
foundation?
What
I
does that
remember
mean?
when Hex first launched, before it launched. I remember before it launched, people were asking questions, basically like, who's going to promote Hex? And I'm like, well, the Hex Foundation will, the Hex Foundation. And Richard, I remember him going, bro, there's no fucking Hex Foundation. Like, stop telling people the Hex Foundation will do stuff.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, because that was the whole thing. Was there was the Ethereum Foundation, the Litecoin Foundation. That was like the thing where, it's like who's going to help guide these cryptocurrencies, more or less. And there's all these foundations. But Richard was like, no, there's no foundation. There's no expectations of work from other people. Like, if you guys want stuff done, you go do it. So I think looking at it on hindsight, I think that was really brilliant.
Totally.
I mean, because imagine like having people who like are looking up to you and you go, how about you go do it, bro?
Right.
So I don't know. I thought that was
One, he's never wavered from that either.
Yeah.
It's like just
Correct.
always like anytime that someone's like recommending he do X, Y, or Z, he's like, just kind of beating the same drum. This is decentralized. This is you interacting with the code on the thing. If you like it and you want to see this or that, go do it. It's like he can tell you what he likes and what he doesn't. He can tell you that, he thinks that certain things are more effective than others. But, at the end of the day, he puts it right back in the lap of the community. It's like, if you want to see these things happen, then build it, go do it, So that's, it's good. It's good. And then the one thing I do want to throw out there too about the daughter dresses, which is just amazing to me and it makes me feel like anybody that's paying attention at all to like the Jack stuff, he brings up repeatedly what a risk it is that the OA holds so many coins. And then it's like, but about the daughter addresses, right? It's like, and he talks about a hack, like how dangerous it would be if the OA got hacked. It's like there's thousands of daughter addresses. You don't think those all have unique seed phrases? I mean, to me, the most obvious thing about that is it is for security. Like to have that spread out amongst multiple addresses is less likely to have any one address being compromised having any real impact. I mean,
that's a beautiful point. And I would also point out that like you're falling for his outrage marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Because like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, he will keep saying dumb stuff. Like he's playing dumb, right. And it's pissing me off.
Yeah. Well, that's why I fight FUD with information. Because it's like, when I see
that is good.
It's that's like, good. Dude, it's like, well, how about I unravel that bullshit? Because that's not true. And that's not true. So therefore, are you to be trusted about pretty much anything else you say if you are knowingly contorting the facts of this thing to like serve your own narrative? It's like, if people don't think that he's competing for Hexicon's dry powder, then they are asleep at the wheel.
I mean, go watch the Hex 2022 rewind video. And go look at Richard calling out all these things that are a bad idea. And look at how they turned out. And now, today, you're telling yourself, oh, this time's different. I'm going to go play with these other coins, like blah, blah, blah. Like, that just, just seems ignorant or something. Like when are people going to learn? Like, how many times does Richard and Wales have to tell you,
Set your expectations low when it comes to human beings and then lower them.
I mean, people actually, I mean, people don't typically do single trial learning. You have to have like a really hot frying pan or something for that. people usually learn on multiple trials. So
Yeah.
there's hope. There's great hope. And, the people who don't get it in one cycle and then don't get it in the second cycle or the third cycle, they'll get it on the fourth.
I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. I had to call that out about the daughter. Like, it's just,
Yeah, that's crazy.
like,
That's just so, and if that's true, because I thought for a minute like maybe some of those daughter addresses were devs early on, and like he said, hey, here's this hunk of hex for you, but we have an agreement that you can't liquidate any of it for X number of times. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole, like maybe that's what's going on. But can you imagine how none of them have ever liquidated any hex on chain? So
Well,
therefore,
correct, because Richard is smarter than that, and it's super clear in everything he does that he wouldn't pay devs in the token.
Right. Because I was trying to figure out, like, is there any other angle to this that makes sense? And there's not.
Now, the reason you're asking that question, though, Toby, is because with other tokens, other coins, not ours, that is how things are done, right? It's just like that influencer. I mean, what does it look like when I create a coin or a token? I should say token. I create a token and I am the owner or the founder and I get 50%. What does that look like? It looks like an address that's embedded into the contract. What does it look like?
Looks like a pre-mine.
Yeah. And what is it? What
and team?
And what is
what
it?
team was? It's like you swapped your maxi for team, and for every maxi that you gave, then team got that maxi and they got a team.
My point is from the outside, right?
Which is okay. Like that's how it works on a lot of different stuff, but not on hex.
Right. Yeah. From the outside, looking at other tokens that were nefarious, right? That's what they did. That's what they.
And that's what Hex did.
And it look so if you only go that far, you're like, who are these 3,000 people? You don't go, hey, this is a mechanism, this is game theory, right? Not unless you've been paying attention, right? And if you so from the outside, I could totally get that.
Yes.
I would really love to know how Richard set up a contract for payments with his devs. I would really like to understand how they get paid. I just for my personal understanding. I mean, because I just want to know, like, because you just said they don't get paid in the coin.
Yeah, they get paid in Happy Meals. Who cares? There's a million things people can get paid in other than the coin. So,
but I would almost think that they would have more incentive to program or make the best coin.
Yeah, but then the coin is worthless because it's a security. So Richard would not do that. It's game theory. That's the point of the show.
Yeah, and that's all I'm wondering about. I'm just like, because I'm always kind of wondering, like, how does Richard prevent his devs from finessing him?
Let's do a thought experiment. If I was a dev and I'm not, and if I was paid by Richard and I'm not, and I really believed in what I was building, then I might take whatever I get paid in Happy Meals or other coins or other currency that Richard has not created, and then I might trade some of that for the thing that I helped make, right? So that's how you could end up with it while still playing by the rules and not being
But how do you
security?
How do you prevent a dev from going, oh yeah, we're almost done, just a little bit longer, and him doing that for an entire year? How do you prevent that?
Because you keep paying the devs.
Yeah, but that's project management.
You keep paying the devs after it's done, and you would have an A team and a B team, or not A and B, but like red and blue or whatever we're calling them. Those are some ways. There's probably other ways. It's a great question because we seem to be in a holding pattern, but
that's what I'm like. I want to know how the contracts are set up between developers or the devs and founders and stuff like that. I'm just interested in.
Oh, if you're interested in this kinds of topics, man, we got a lot of guys that have tons of experience and knowledge about those contracts. I've got some copies of them, but they're not related to Hex. Has nothing to do with Hex, and I don't think, at least from my perspective, I don't need to know that exactly about this project. But if you're just looking for regular information, man, we can get that to you. There's some pretty cool things.
100%. It's just morbid curiosity on on how, because I'm completely ignorant of that whole programming world of how do you outsource work and make sure it gets done in a timely manner,
Mhm.
and how are you paying them enough, or how
Yeah. Well,
it, like
It's a
you
good
probably
question.
know more than you think you know about it. You just mentioned all the stuff that people worry about,
I mean,
right?
if you're bootstrapping a worldwide currency, like, and you're developing it, like, how much is that worth to develop that? You know, uh,
Mhm.
20 grand a year? It's
Oh
like,
no, I think I had seen recently that maybe the going rate is around 150K for the types of programmers or devs we're talking about, and that's probably reasonable. Some will range higher, some are lower. And every manner of project gets launched. Sometimes you get somebody who does it on their own, right? They go out and just build something, and they're good enough to do it. And then you have the people who've completely outsourced it to a company, you know. But there's cost requirements that go with that. I mean, you're going to pay a lot more if you're doing it. It's kind of like it's kind of like when I do the work around my house. I'm gonna do it. It's gonna cost me my time and materials, but if I hire someone who does it professionally, I'm gonna pay whatever market is, right? And maybe then some. And then you're worried about, well, how do you manage all that? And that's where, again, depending on the size of it, there's a plan, a schedule, and a plan, and somebody works it and manages it. And the way you and in particular with all this stuff with people working remote, Um, you figure it out usually after they've already not they stop already haven't they've already been charging you and they didn't do the work. It's after the fact that you figure out they didn't do the work.
I'm using an innovative model of volunteers that are highly trusted.
Hmm.
It's very unusual. But that's one thing about the Hex community is some of us have stuck together for quite a long time. And there have been some people who are just really outstanding in the community, and then of all talents. And then there have also been scammers like T Money. So
Ouch.
hey, I got the receipts.
Truth hurts, right?
So yeah, we gotta be careful of who we trust, and like that's the number one thing that happens, I think, in blockchain development is like people try to build something, and then the dev like either doesn't do the work or runs away with all the coins or creates a vulnerability or all the above. So
Mm.
really, it's worth mentioning that the default mode is blockchain is hard.
I've always said there's I call it Schrodinger scam, where everything is and isn't a scam until it's either proven it is or isn't. you know
Yeah, that's
I mean, like, because
cool.
with just
Cool
to
thing.
be completely realistic, the OA could rug pull Hex. It's not going to. I have absolute
How?
supreme confidence.
How?
Well,
Wait,
just
it's going to
by
take that little bit of liquidity. I'm not a liquidity provider. I don't have to worry about that.
I just mean, like, it could sell whatever coins on the open market and just drain all the USDC out of all
Okay.
the Uniswap pools. I don't think that will ever happen, but
Traders
it's
be wrecked.
traders will be wrecked, but it's always like a possibility
Hex
that it
isn't a trading coin, so
could
I don't
happen.
see the risk to non-traders,
But the whole
because
point
then
is
because
that
then what happens
go ahead.
is then you just got to worry about the people who bought up the coin super cheap.
Yeah. But my whole point is that Hex isn't a scam. But if that were to ever happen, it would be like, okay, now it's a scam. And
No,
so
the opposite. Then it would not be a scam because it would
the
be
guy's out.
held by people who are not the OA, who, like Hexologists and you guys were saying earlier, be held by 1,000 people instead of just one.
It's true. It's true in the fact that the code would still be working exactly as intended.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I think people sometimes get that backwards. Whoa, look at this. Casey, the Hexakin with $100 super chat. Thank you so much. The StreamYard is broken right now. So well, let me hit refresh and then I'll try to show it. But thank you for the super chat. Supreme Stream. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. That was
very
awesome.
Nice. Yeah, cool. A little vote of confidence. Appreciate that.
It's because I'm here.
Sorry, that's right. Guys. That's why I was telling you to get in here, Briz. We needed you. Yeah, I actually just shared in the private chat and in comments a clip that Balliot Brand did of a rant that I had on the Pulse voice chat like 2 years ago, like around the time of the Pulse sacrifice. And it was in regard to people's concern about the OA participating in the sacrifice, but it addresses all those things that we were just talking about, people's concerns about, the OA rug pulling, or are there any concerns that we should have about Richard? It's only like a 7-8 minute clip. So for people that might want to watch that, I would encourage you to go do it, because I don't know that I've ever done it better before or since. And thankfully, Balliot Brand found that little audio clip and threw it up on YouTube. And it's got thousands of views. Nice. Yeah, it's like 6,000 views or something since he put it up there. But basically, it talks about like in a nutshell, it's like, if Richard was already super wealthy and retired long before he ever got into Bitcoin, and then he was mining Bitcoin when it was 50 block rewards, then he changed his worldview and shifted his allegiance to ETH, likely investing in ETH before or during that time. Then, theoretically, during the HEX AA, all of that ETH went to him, or which we're assuming he's the OAA. If he has all of those things lined up in a row before you even get to HEX, let alone Pulse or PulseX,
right,
why in the world, if he was going to sell anything, would he do it? Would he sell the thing at the end of the line? He would sell the stuff at the beginning of the line. He's already got cash. He's already got Bitcoin. He's already got a boat ton of Ethereum. Now he's got all this sacrifice money that came in for the Pulse chain. It would make much more sense if he actually needed to buy anything and have to liquidate something to get it. Those would be the things. And why would you destroy your legacy and the very thing that he's going for, which is glory, which we've heard again and again and again, by destroying his own creation, by being at the core of his
demise. I think that's actually almost part of the reason for all of the outrage marketing, is to just say, hey, look, guys, I am freaking rich. Like, this is my proof. I'm already rich. You don't have to worry about me rug pulling you guys, because I don't need your money, bro. Look, and I remember him saying it on one time. He's like, man, if I just utilized a percentage of my wealth, he's like, I don't spend enough money. He's like, I just don't spend enough money.
Let me give you some quick math. So even if Richard sold all of his Bitcoin at $2, which I don't think he did, and even if he mined it and then lost it in a boating accident, which I don't think he did, and then even if he cried on stream and all the Bitcoiners point to that and they're like, oh, he's out of Bitcoin, even if that's the case, there were 1 million Ethereum that went through the adoption amplifier. 1 million Ethereum. Now, even if we assume that there may have been some recycling, which I don't know if there was, I didn't do the chain analysis, but let's just say that let's just take the worst, absolute worst case scenario that we can see on chain right now, is that it's possible that user controlled hex is about 5% and the origin address controls 95%. So let's just take 5% of the Ethereum that went through the adoption amplifier, conservative numbers. That amount of Ethereum today is worth $80 million. Okay. On top of that, you have, and it could be a multiple of 4 higher than that was put through by user controlled Ethereum that, didn't go through the adoption amplifier more than once in order to stop people from gaming the system. remember this is before Uniswap was really around and all that. And so there had to be some mechanism for distribution that was not being gamed. And so then you have the Pulse Chain sacrifice. You have what, $300 million worth of DAI stablecoin that's sitting there. I mean, it's
a quarter billion.
And then it's game theory, and it's unfathomable, and it's just like it's into absurd territory that the founder of HEX would sell any HEX when the liquidity is only $1 million or even $5 million worth of other coins that could be traded for it, but it would destroy the reputation, and then HEX wouldn't be worth as much in the future. So why would you make your own coin worthless, lose the bragging rights, lose the real value that those coins could be sold for many, many, many years down the line? I mean, if
lose the legacy,
hundreds of millions of dollars, if that's not enough, then like it doesn't make any sense to sell when all those other coins are still on chain, especially in the sacrifice associated addresses. So,
and Richard isn't anonymous, guys.
Correct.
Like he's very findable to the authorities. Like they know exactly wherever he's at, wherever he's at. So, it's not like he's anonymous and, why trash, a potential, 100-year plus legacy that could, go on for who knows how long. It doesn't make any sense that Richard would ever hurt HEX.
Well, it's like, why don't Bitcoin miners just give themselves all the coins? It's like, because there would be consequences to that.
Yeah. And that was the other point, is also if Richard ever did that, there would probably be pretty bad consequences. It's not like you just get away with it scot-free. Not in today's world. Not after FTX.
The Ethereum Foundation, every other founder seems to like be cool dumping, and like people love that. And so like I don't even know that it would be a bad thing, but it's definitely a point where I see HEX being different than everything else, and like really kind of flexing on the game theory of it all. Because which one do you think is better? A founder that sells, has a history of selling, or a founder that doesn't? And if you have the founder that doesn't, and that's provable on chain, then why in the world would you not want that founder to have the majority of the coins?
Seems pretty basic.
It really annoys me.
I think they just run out of FUD, so they got to recycle old FUD because it's almost like it's bulletproof. Like, I mean, there's been thousands of hours of people refuting this FUD, and if you dig just a little bit, it's like you can see, reasonable explanations for all of anyone's concern trolling, and people just don't want to take those deep dives, or they just like to troll, or they're just dumb. It gets aggravating after a while, where it's like, man, it's like if you would spend 5 minutes on a Google
their first
search.
impression was wrong. People, it's very hard to overcome psychologically your first impression. And so when people see the Rolex is spinning, then they're like, oh, come on, how can anybody fall for this?
Right.
But
I'm glad to see that the outrage marketing has seemed to take a back seat now. I definitely feel like on a personal level, it's easier to onboard without having to explain all that stuff to people, because that was a challenge for a while. Because people would get turned off by that, and then I would have to explain, and then I had like a little clip that would show Richard himself explaining why he was doing that. And it's just now it's like not a conversation I have to have as often, because I can point them to just, better material, in my opinion.
As a victim of masturbation questions by Richard, I disagree.
So
it really bothered me when
wait. I gotta address that. So you're saying that you don't think the outrage marketing has stopped, or you think that it didn't make it harder to onboard?
I think that he's toned it down, and that I like this version better than
Okay.
than other things. Like, for example, I clipped when he was talking about killing every chicken on Earth in exchange for $1 trillion. I clipped that today.
I gotta see that. I don't
That was
remember that,
amusing.
but
Or
that's hilarious.
I might be able to play like just the audio from it here. Maybe if
That's
my
right.
microphone picks it up. Let's see.
I want to hear
Yeah.
that in context.
Totally right. That sounds ridiculous.
If every chicken, if
Can you
I
hear-
could get $1 trillion and every chicken in the world died, if I pressed a button, I'd be like, bam! I'd press the button and go cure aging. I'd choose humans over chickens. I don't give a fuck about chickens, bro.
I'm not. You're
I don't
talking
care.
about died. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not saying like.
You heard it here. Fuck chickens. Sorry, guys.
That's funny.
He wasn't saying that he hates chickens. He just likes humans better.
Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
That's funny. That's funny.
What did he say specifically? If he could kill every chicken to cure something?
No. If
Well,
you
yeah,
get
he would take the $1
$1
trillion and he would cure aging.
Oh, cure aging. That's what he said. Gotcha. Is that all it's going to cost to cure aging? Is $1 trillion?
I mean, I've got some ideas. So, yeah. Like there's not $1 trillion going into it now. I think that scientific breakthroughs are hard, but you at least need, you can't win if you don't try. So you have to have people who go into that as a career and who are working on it. You have to have the right incentives aligned in order to get the results. And so, maybe, maybe that'll happen. I mean, we have some of the most influential people in the world right now, Vitalik and Richard and Peter Thiel, all interested in ending aging. Sounds like a good idea to me.
It would be nice.
But the chicken outrage is at all-time highs. Like, where are we going to get eggs if Richard kills all the chickens?
Right.
Where?
Whoa, do you guys think Richard lit that chicken farm on fire?
No.
Oh shit. I doubt it.
I think Jack
Most likely
Levin did.
not.
Oh God.
He would like, he would just like to see the world burn. He's made that really clear.
Dude, did you listen or watch the stream with Buck Fiat with Jim Rat recently? He had a really interesting take on, and also from conversations he had with Jack about like basically all of this is just about getting more people into his system, and like he has he knows that it's all garbage, and it's all leading just to get people to be more on board for his chain, whatever X1 or whatever he's calling it. But it's an interesting take that he has on the whole thing. So I'd encourage you to check it out.
I saw a interview with Jack Levin today on like Tech TV or something, like a long time from 2012. And it looks like he has more hair nowadays than he did back then. But he made like a competitor to like Twitter and Google Plus and and Facebook and all the social medias. And it was kind of weird because he was just like, hey, we just need to take as many users as possible. I don't know. I just found that kind of interesting, where it wasn't really about the quality of users or anything like that. It's just about getting as many as possible. And so I just I don't know. I just thought that was a little interesting that.
Yeah, that's more or less what Buck was saying. And what I found interesting is just the nonverbals from Sam and Jim Rat, like as Buck Fiat was just decimating the whole ecosystem of Jack's stuff.
I really like Buck. Buck says everything I'm thinking. He's like,
right. Yeah, he was laying it down.
Thank you. Finally, someone said it.
Yeah. So, but he also was kind of putting a bow on it, was saying that there could be some collaboration between Richard and Jack when Jack gets this chain off the ground. That
is
mutual benefit.
Silly.
That's where I kind of lost focus on it. Like, I don't really see how that works, but maybe Buck had a different
I'm
angle.
sorry,
Yeah.
He was
you cut out.
yeah,
Can you
I
say
don't-
that last part one more time? What was silly?
he was saying that there was like he saw like a potential for a collaboration between Pulse Chain and Zen and how they could actually help one another, but I didn't really understand his
Sounds more
argument
like he
for that.
wants corporate espionage. Keep him away from the files, Richard.
Yeah, right. Maybe. But it was a good listen. I
I
enjoyed it.
wouldn't trust him around their stuff.
Look, if
I wouldn't either.
you want to see what the main event is, it's not any imaginary chains that they don't have brilliant ideas behind them. I think Pulse Chain has tons of brilliant ideas packed into one. But if
That's true.
if you came to the stream because you want to know what's up with the top 25 wallets and why I am so excited
That's
about
why I'm
this
here.
new thing that ChrispyMan has to unveil, I'm excited. So this is so you have maybe a clip that has non-copyrighted music because it is the Hexagon anthem.
Yeah, you want me to play the clip? Or you want me to just talk about the
Both.
the
Yeah.
tool?
Take it away. I'm so excited.
All right. Well, I didn't prepare for the clip, so you can let me send you the link real quick.
Okay.
For YouTube, I'll grab it. Do.
If you're still here, hit the like and subscribe button and get ready to see the evolution of the top 25 wallets.
Yeah, I
in
didn't
the
go anywhere. I'm right here.
top 3 categories.
Well,
I'm glad.
you weren't talking to me.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of people watching now and in the replay. They're about to be blown away. So definitely leave a comment if you're watching this on the replay. If you're watching live, we got Danny Boy and Sandy Beach in the chat. Welcome.
All right, I sent the link to the video over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, T-Bird's holding it down in the chat. Got all the regulars. We see Bit Finesse in there.
All the usual
doing
suspects.
his
Huh?
thing. Yeah, right. That's it. Hex Love, Brenton Elslick, Ash Tree, Benny Blanco in the house. Look out. Yeah, we got an active chat going on. It's good. 140 people watching now, it looks like.
All right.
Oh, Toby.
All right,
So
let's start doxing some whales, Crispy. Do it, bro.
We're not doxing nobody.
I'm just teasing you, please.
I know. And it's a joke. Yeah, so as we go into this and Maddie's pulling up this video, probably shouldn't talk over the music, but what it's going to show are the top 25 addresses. This is the top 25 addresses, not Dolphins, starting in 2019, and how they grew in position and where they ended up.
And these are suspected non-OA addresses.
Non-OA. Yep. So top 25. Yeah. So go for it. There, Maddie. It's about 3 minutes.
I need to okay. I need to do Chrome screen here so we can get the sound. Let's see.
The evolution of Tobiwan's wallet.
That's right.
Shit. Yeah, right.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear it.
No, it needs to come up quite a bit.
Can't hear it.
Barely.
It's too quiet.
Very quiet.
I'm out there actually making an effort trying to stop the fucking scam. Everyone else is like, oh, fucking that Richard, yeah, he's a scammer. Call it a scam. Nobody
You know what? Let's just keep talking, and I will. I will download it, and then I'll load it up because StreamYard is being super glitchy today.
Let me share my screen.
apologize.
We'll pull it up. All right. I'll pull up the actual chart itself, Maddie. Is that fair or no?
Sure. Whatever's going to give us the best quality for the video. So if you want to try
Yeah.
to share your
Well, it
screen,
won't be
it's
it won't be the video. I'll just be showing you the actual tool.
Oh, okay. So you can do the tool while he's getting the video ready to
yeah.
rock. Cool.
Thank you for that translation, Toby. I didn't get there.
That's all right. I try to help.
Yeah. All right. Let me. I'll throw a screen share up here. Da, da, da. You guys let me know what you're seeing on the screen.
Subscribe to Hex Fire. He only has
Oh, you got
209
that.
subscribers.
Thank you. All right. So let's go look at. I'm going to look at whales first. See what that look like. So I'm assuming you guys can see this on the screen. It says
Yep.
top TShares, total TShares HEX top 25 addresses. And so what this is doing, and so first off, I tried to do all the addresses, and then of course it blew up on me. There's just too many records that are out there. And so what it's going to do is it's going to go through, starting with 2019, and I adjusted the time frame on this so we can track it a little bit more visually. It can be faster or slower, but it's going through and just showing how that wallet D01, where it originated from, and how far it got in 2020.
And you said this is for sharks?
No, this is for all. So it's everybody. So anybody who might be a shark or above is probably going to show up in here. So it's 100. It's 100,000 TShares or greater. So it was just kind of a fun little aside thing to look at to see how, see if we could visualize how these change position, because we hear a lot about people losing position, and I'm not really sure. I don't. I have a feeling that people have lost position, right? But I don't know that it's true. Like, I can't prove it to you yet. And then here in the center, you can see the God whale coming up in 21 and how he's
This
building.
feels
his
like a
position.
horse race.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Coming from behind, 666D.
yeah, well, they call it a race. A race bar chart for that reason. You can kind of see it. You'll see it sometimes with the stock market. They'll show different stocks and how they come up.
So this is with people with greater than 100,000 TShares.
Right.
Got it.
Right. And so it's just going through that process. I am looking for feedback now that we've gotten this data where we can analyze, by day, and we can look at some other charts.
6C coming up from behind.
Yeah.
Coming in hot.
Coming in
Is
hot.
that might be Briz. Is that you, Briz?
That's definitely Briz. They just sold. Market done.
Well, actually, that could be like one of the
Resticks
maxi contracts.
Yeah.
Question: why did 7E6C go like super pale all of a sudden?
Good question. Good question. So it's looking at different time frames. So they may have a restick. That type of thing.
And is that the TShares next to the name, like 149 191?
Yep, that's the number. That's the amount of TShares.
Okay, gotcha.
God, I always think, man, I could have had that many. Well, probably not. I probably wouldn't have put, even at the low, I probably wouldn't have put $100,000 in.
I could have been a contender.
That's right. I could have been a contender, but it really shows how it is, because there aren't addresses missing here. They're not missing. So this is what it looks like. This is kind of what the curve looks like. I guess it's as expected. Maybe it's a Pareto, maybe it's close to 70-30, but we talk a lot about how there's many people up there with lots of stuff and they're all selling out, but they don't look that way. I mean, I don't know. I have to do some more work on that. So this was for the whales, and then the dolphins, which is got whales, dolphins, and sharks. But I'm sure everybody does want to see each one of them. But it's going to be something similar, but it's not going to have those higher wallets in here. So we're only going to see the ones that really were in this range, right, between 1 and 10K.
So this is dolphins then.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of an approximation of that, yeah. And they have a much different kind of display. You see some come in and are just born right up in there. Now, these are wallet addresses, right? So we may have some people, you know, moving from one wallet to another wallet, that type of thing. So there's some of that. You know, maybe there were some sharks out there, even whales that kind of like decided they're going to move, you know, from one wallet to another. And I don't, you know, like I said, this is kind of fun to look at. How much actionable stuff is out? There's probably not a lot, right? But if you just wanted to visualize it,
It's the birth of our ecosystem.
yes, it is. I would have liked to have been able to, and I can do it for, like, if somebody said to me, hey, I really would like these addresses to be included, I could curate it so it would include certain addresses. I don't have any way to filter this at the moment because it's just too big. You know, just too much data in it. But if we can get there, it'd be kind of cool that you put your wallet in.
Yes.
And see your wallet moving. So
Yes.
Matt, it's kind of like an animation of the other data we're going to look at.
So I'm sorry, these are just the dolphins on this one?
Top 25.
Yeah.
Top 25?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I feel like there's more dolphins with more than like 4,500 TShares.
Well, this is if you ended up in the top 25 today, where did you start and how did you evolve?
Oh, gotcha. That makes more sense.
Yeah, but the top 25 is going to be the top 25, right? I mean, if since I limited it to 25 addresses, you're only going to see 25 addresses in this. You know, does that make sense, Bruce?
Yeah, I think so. Because I'm just like, I know of dolphin wallets that have more TShares than some of these guys, and they're not top 25.
Well, top 25 of what? Top 25 of dolphins?
Yeah.
Well, you and I should be talking because now remember this does exclude OA, by the way.
This excludes OA.
The suspected OA. So that
So
could
your
be
rank
affecting it.
totally changes if there's 2,000. Well, but how many of them are staking? Are there only 12 or 13 staking OA addresses?
Let's go see. So if we go to we go over here to the staking data, let's throw the origin address in there, not ended. Got 125 or 120 stakes that are out there, right?
Because that's always one thing I've always kind of wondered about. I'm like, all right, I know I am a certain position in a certain staker class, and I'm just like, I wonder how many people above me are Richard wallets. You know,
12 or 13, I think, would be OA. But
yeah, so these are all the sharks here that go.
Those are all OA sharks?
No, these are all the dolphins that are out there today.
How many are there?
But I don't have that listed here. In total, 878 dolphins. Okay. So the question is whether or not, you know, and I'll dig into it to make sure I got the data right, to make sure that is this really the top dolphin, you know, at this point. And that's what Bruce is saying. Maybe not.
Yeah, because I mean, you would still be a dolphin even at 10,000 TShares. So it's funny to me that there's no one that has anything between that and the upper limit of dolphinhood.
Yeah.
Well, that could be me, right? But the marking right now for a dolphin, you have to have 10,294
That's for a shark.
to be a shark, and 10 times less for that. So
Right.
So the minimum amount for a dolphin is 1,029, or is that
yeah, right at the moment.
okay?
That's like with that Hadron auction they're doing today is like it's like a 6x dolphin or a 2x dolphin position maybe. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a lot of
I
T-shares.
I saw someone, I was like playing around with that on my little Hedron
It's like-
calculator thing. It was like 1,200 TShares.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like instant dolphin.
Yeah.
This is super cool to look at. I want to
Yeah,
really look at
'cause
this
you-
later.
Yeah.
Because
same.
even if this is just like the first version and everything, I think like the concept is the big idea that you're looking over time at how you're evolving your share of the Hex ecosystem. And for me, it makes me reflect when I look at my own wallets on hexfire.io, like makes me think more carefully about how I'm approaching this big, future that's ahead.
Well, and it's kind of like just a fun thing to kind of see what's happening with it.
It is fun.
For that part. But this kind of gets you a little bit further, Maddie, towards what you're looking at. And these are all things that I'm working on and kind of in development. So Briz, this gives you and
I like
Toby,
this a lot.
this gives you kind of a little different view of things. So we can go look at like a dolphin address, like this guy here. Let me pull him up and grab him. And we'll throw him in to our filter and kind of show us what happened. What's the chrono,
Oh, I see.
the timeline. So what it's doing is by hex day showing the changes in the T-shares by hex day.
So it starts
Yes.
on day 15. And this person had 1,900 T-shares at that point, which represented 0.05% of all the T-shares. And they were categorized as a dabbing dolphin. And then they added more on day 62. Then they added more on day 71 and day 96, and so on and so forth. And then it shows where some of their T-shares dropped. And then they added more, and then it dropped, and it can show that they sank down to the rank of swift squid on day 422 or 353. It's really hard to read from this far away. but,
936.
well, there were two different times that
yeah.
they dipped in
I
rank.
see that up top. Yep. So they probably had a big stake come out, and then they restaked it to get their rank back.
Now they have less T-shares than they had on the very first purchase.
But the most important thing to note, even more important than the T-shares, is their percentage of T-shares.
Right.
Which, if you look at that for yourself, for this person, it got cut like in 1/5, and they're still in the same category. So if I was looking at this for myself, I'd be like, oh, maybe I want to maintain not just my same league, but maybe I want to maintain my percent of T-shares that I maxed out at. And I have looked at that, and that has changed my staking behavior.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like an add-on to this. So this is the first. So you were right about this, Maddie. The T-shares column has a little caret. It's showing whether it's going up or down, and so it's just telling you whether your T-shares go up and down. Then the percentage of T-shares are for that day. So on that day, based on the condition at that point, so you can see your trend overall, whether it was going up or down. It's kind of interesting. In some cases, you could actually have more, T-shares and actually go down, right? In percentage trend, because what's happening is, and it may not be shown on this one, but what's happening is the system's pretty dynamic. And then for the league changes, you can see this is what I'm ultimately going after, the league changes, to see how often somebody dropped, from one league to another league, and whether or not they went up or down, that type of thing. So like on this one here, this is obviously, we're going to get to change this because this should be a down arrow. Maybe the numbers are really, really close for some reason because it's a very small change. It might even be a rounding, but the idea that you'll be able to track, the position throughout. But now look at this last date. That was the 22nd. I think I have to go look. I know maybe somebody tell us right off that, but I think we have actually less TShares right now than at that point, or we have more, one or the other, right? It's not going to be the same. And so today, this isn't representative of today. So I'm going to consider how to include, today on this chart to show what the difference is for that. And so ultimately, yeah, you should be able to, really see how groups of addresses perform. And so if you did have multiple addresses, you can come in here and put them in with a, comma separated and drop them in, and you'd see them.
Or just hitting the enter bar, or copy and pasting directly from Excel multiple cells, and it magically just puts itself in there perfectly.
Did it work for you that way? Good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. So definitely looking for some feedback on what to, what else to add to this thing. So this is one of the test beds that I'm going on. So I don't know, Toby, does this jump out at you as something?
Yeah, this is cool, man. It's like I just hopped over to hexfire.io to see exactly, like, where is this exactly? Like,
Oh, this is not up there yet because it's something I'm working on. Oh yeah, well, I got to be careful. It's very, it's just like we just found out, right? Maybe one of my numbers are wrong. I don't know.
Toby wanted to type in his own address.
Well, doesn't everyone want to do that?
Yeah.
See? No. Because it's like what's interesting to me that's always been kind of odd, and I remember early on I talked to Steph about this, but when you put it, like if you've got multiple wallets, which most people do, and you put that into Staker, then it kind of, groups those all together to give you your quote ranking, right?
Yeah.
But that was always a bit confusing to me because you could plug in any wallet. Like I could plug in the Poseidon wallet and have it adjust my rank, right? So it's like, how accurate is that really? Depending on what other people
it's not showing what wallets you're aggregating to other people. So
it's just showing what those TShares are worth in the rank.
Yeah, so it's like it's considering like for every other person who's in this ranking, like it's a separate address, whether they've gotten Staker app and associated those wallets together for themselves, but your wallets that you've associated together for yourself and Staker app, like they do count together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing with that too, Toby,
which is good.
My rank hasn't moved at all in a long while. My rank's which was surprising. I thought I would be, moving some, but I haven't moved any at all.
Well, I think you don't see a lot of rank movement towards the higher end at all. I mean, there is some. Is it a lot to individuals? Maybe, but I mean, just like people aren't moving around in and out of being a shark all day long. I mean, it's just not. I mean, it'd have to be coming in and out with a lot of hex. So a couple things to keep in mind. I need to figure out how I want to handle good accounting as well in all this. And I'm not sure what Steph does with the app and how they handle good accounting. I would think they drop good accounting shares out for ranking purposes. And then the other thing I'd tell you how I would be handling this, the way I did it when I started working on it was, if you gave me 3 addresses, I'd combine all that information, and then I would look at all other addresses as individuals, and I would insert your address into the right spot based on your value, your number. And so that's kind of like what Maddie said, not comparing all of everyone's, consolidated addresses to each other, just your consolidated addresses to all the single addresses. So, yeah, I mean, at best, it's just, it's, I don't know, is it exactly like kind of a flex? I don't know. But at best, it's just kind of like a range, right? About where you think you're going to be.
Very cool. I like it.
And it's it's good news if there are people above you who are being considered separately, because it means that you're actually higher than your Staker League rank is showing. Not just because of the origin address being, like 13 addresses that are presumably above you, but also because, Maddie could have 3 addresses, right? And so if Steph has 3 addresses too, or I'm just making up names now, but those are being considered separately, but it's really one person who has a higher rank. So that's where it comes down to, like, you really, there's some things you can't really know,
Right.
other than what is your percentage of TShares. That is knowable, I think. Whereas like your rank, because we don't know whose wallets are connected, in some respect, like, it's always going to be a ballpark. But it's an important ballpark because it's gamifying and showing you like how important TShares are and how important it is to, like, maintain your level over time. Because do you want, unless you don't want perpetual passive income.
Right. Well, yeah. And so, hey, so a couple questions that came up in the chat. This does include all of the HSI stakes. However, you have to use the. It gets a little funky, right? Because you have to use the HSI address in this version to put it in, and I'm not sure how useful that is, because those HSIs, they were created in the past at different times by different wallets. They may not even be yours, right? Originally, it kind of gets at the underlying stuff. But so anyways, this does have all stakes by wallet address. It just doesn't incorporate ownership consideration for, whether or not you were the original owner or not. So just be aware of that. That was one of the questions I saw that came up. And so Maddie, another thing for all three of you guys, the other thing was something like this: when you have this kind of data available, maybe this took a little bit to get it all put together and consolidated, by address. Maybe there's some deeper analysis we can begin to do that gets after the kinds of things that Maddie was talking about. Like, well, so what has the trend been? You could take this screen, and maybe this isn't all the information we have available to us, but we can make the observation, Toby, like you did. I think you made that observation that the guy has less than when he started. I forget who said it.
Maddie pointed that out.
Yeah, and so we could be looking at staking ladders and time frames and saying, hey, for this address, that it has less. For this address, it changed this much. For this address, it's been trending up or down over time. I don't know. There might be some time intelligence things we could build in.
Building profiles of how people are acting, what their behaviors on chain are, what are they doing with their liquid hex? What was their entry price, and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a lot deeper stuff for sure. And then to answer your question, Toby, about it being available on Hexfire. So this is pretty intensive from data perspective. So it's completely separate. And I'll talk to you later in the green room. But I mean, one of the things
Cool.
we Me and myself and I. One of the things I'm struggling with, right, is that Hexfire site. I have a lot built into it. I've got over 60 pages of analysis and stuff. I can't go any further with it. I'm literally at the point that if I do too much, it won't work anymore. The way I need it to work, the way I want it to work. And the way I want it to work is I want it to be something that's updated regular basis, open, most everything. Well, everything will be on it, be open to the public. That's what that site is meant for, in my mind. And so that now I'm beginning to get into these deeper analysis things that I don't know what to do with them yet. But it's likely I have to build a website. I have to somehow embed the information. I mean, technically it's possible, but anyways, going off into a whole different tangent with this.
You're like a pivot table master.
That's right. That's what I have a hat that says that. And it said I did all this and I only got a pivot table. Right?
Real quick funny story. I remember I went to a job employment and they sent me to a job interview, and the lady was like, hey, we're doing this job for data analysis. Do you know about pivot tables? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. She's all, great. The guy that you're replacing, he's still here. Come back tomorrow. I'm like, cool. I went home and I Googled what the F is a pivot table. Just started figuring out what pivot tables were in.
Hey, I guess, well, some people say fake it till you make it, man. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. Hey, Maddie, have I shown you this one? I don't forget if we had covered this the other week. I might have shown it up on the screen, but I moved this a little bit further along. This is kind of a companion tool to some of these other items that we have. And what this is, and why it took a little bit of work, is this is the 4.3 million records that, or 4.4 million records. I should probably put a comma down here. These are all of the HEX transactions. And this kind of gets your question about tracing the OA and understanding what's happening. And so we can, and again, this is not up on the site for use at the moment, but you can come in and look and see what, how many original BTC claims we had, for instance, and which just by the fact
79,000 free claims.
Yeah, 79,000, and just by the fact that we have 79,000 free claim, whatever BTC address claim means, which I think might mean actually getting something out of it. We have to go look at the transaction.
Individual Bitcoin addresses, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably more to it than that, but you can go grab the transaction hash and go look, right, and see what this one actually was. Drop it in. And you can see what this address did. Yeah, so it was actual. It looks like it was actual minting. Right. Oh, the BTC claim.
Nice.
So there's a couple things we can do with that. You build a little bit of superhighway to get to the transaction hash quickly, make it a link and be able to go there. You can be able to see it. But basically, it's showing us the information that's there, and how much was sent, between, the from address to the to address, etc. And there's more work to be done, but these are the method IDs, and I know some people know this that are up on Ethereum and use the tracing, but they did add, by the way, the ability to, on the HEX contract. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure some people do. But if you go to the HEX contract and you're looking at the transactions down here, you see these method IDs. Well, that's a translation, right, of the information that is showed down the other screen, and I'll give you a little bit. Yeah, so it tells you it's decoded. If you find yourself on this screen, you can go a little bit further and go to the contract directly, and the methods become searchable. And so I don't know if everybody saw that this change took place. But like if you wanted to see all the stake ends chronologically, you can go see them. And it shows that so I just sorted right on screen with that, right?
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
So this is something that appeared, at least to me recently. I don't know, other people may have seen it. It's been around a couple months. So you could actually go through and actually look at the end stakes yourself.
That's great because it didn't work like that when I recorded my chain analysis course.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, some things changed, right? I believe that the blanks could be some other types of transactions that are out there, but I think this is where you see your transactions that are going off to swapping, or somebody's moving just from address to address or whatever. So it's going to require a little bit more work on my part. But so I came in here and I have that address. I can drop it. Oops, I can drop it back up here and put that filter on, and it's going to show me. So this start looking a little bit. I have no idea what address this is. I just grabbed it. But it's going to show me that it has made 14 transactions. It looks like that are
December 4th, the day
fine.
after Hex launched. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you can see each one of the transactions. Now this needs to be cleaned up and presented differently, but it looks like this particular address has only sent hex back and forth and staked hex, started a hex stake. Doesn't look like it's done anything else like end of stake.
That's
Did it-
crazy because they staked it like the day December 4th. They staked it.
Yeah.
But so does any of this tell you? It doesn't tell you how long the stakes are.
No, we can go find out. But let's do this. Let's throw that same one in here. Let's see. So in theory, right, this is all interconnected, right? So you just click and it'll go over here. But so you can see exactly what we were just saying. Looks like they didn't get to staking until the end of the month, but they were in right at the beginning, right?
What was that December 4th stake?
That's not a stake, right? It's just a blank. So
The one right below it.
Yeah, this one here. Let's go find out. Maybe this is pretty raw. So this is raw data. So let's go see. Maybe this is not correct. Good catch. Or maybe something else happened. I don't know. So let's go look a little bit further. Where's with the good catches?
You can't do this with Bitcoin because it's not all on chain.
Oh, let me see what's going on. I wonder if
That's true. They got all those transactions inside the sexes that hide all these great details.
all right, so I cleared this guy up just to show you what we have for stakes. So that's the address that was there. And yeah, so he has one that started the 4th. I have to verify this. I'm wondering if these are BTC free claims, because it might have created a hole in my data. Because BTC free claims, they're not though, because the days are wrong, right? So if it was 350, it might be possible, but yeah, scratch that. Yeah, good catch on that. I'll dig into it and try to figure out what this is a little bit further. But you can kind of see the concept, right? Being able to get the data, be able to track what's happening. It looks like this wallet still has 11 stakes open. They were supposed to end. Let's see if we have actual
Imagine being able to take all this data, feed it in the chat GPT, and be like, show me every wallet that has staked more than like 400 days, or I don't know, like anything.
It's GPT, like the P stands for performance.
Yeah, I always think of part-time
or pre-trained.
Part-time.
Yeah, and so to answer your question about what happened to it, I blithered a little bit, and I appreciate the AI talk. I agree with you. We could be able to do that. So be very clear, all of these have ended on this particular one. It looks like they all have ended.
All right. But only 11 total transactions?
Yeah, in terms of stakes, yeah.
Okay.
So all have ended.
What
looks
is
like
up
to
with
me.
that stake cost column?
Yeah, on this chart, I tried to capture the closing price for HEX on the day that they made the stake, and then what the current value is by today's prices. So yeah, I mean, these are some of the things you really see. 246, 23,000, $24, 7,400. Now I didn't. This is by today's price, so these are likely were much higher, right? Depending on, well, I guess it
Well,
depends on what date
2020
you're
was probably
using.
much lower way back then.
Yeah, it might have been much lower. Yeah.
But but if it's based on today's valuation, then it would show it higher than it actually was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that on Etherscan. Sometimes you can click on the dollar amount and it shows you the value of today and the value at the time of the transaction.
Yeah,
And that's pretty
really
cool.
Yeah, and see, this data here is a little off. I'll have to work on it. But you see how it went to 0 on 12/6/20, and we missed that one. I looked at it before. And so when was the last? And so right around here it started getting messed up. So I'll have to look at that. And it's because I think maybe they're pretty close to being on time. Anyways, I won't jump to conclusions, but I'll have to dig into the data to figure out why that happened with these. Might be something special with the
RIP to the
address.
silent shell.
Yeah, well, that's where you go.
They could have just switched wallets.
True.
Yeah, but you should never be negative TShares, right? So I'll have to clear that up. But yeah, I mean, so it's always easier when you just look at the raw data, say, hey, figure it out yourself. Here you go. And then you know, you don't have to worry about the rest. But this is that raw data, searchable from to. So if somebody really, if we get to once we get this up and running, you really want to go trace your own OA addresses, you can go trace, get all the addresses, and trace, get all the addresses, trace, get all the addresses.
That's really awesome, Crispy. That's
Yeah.
really cool, man.
So cool. What you can do with all the data that's on chain, but now you're organizing it in a way that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, once we get there a little bit further along. Once we get a little further along.
All you're gonna do is you're gonna attract all the nerds into HEX.
Well, calling all nerds, go subscribe to ChrispyMan's Patreon. The link is in the description below, and it really helps to support what he's doing. What he's doing is not created for free. There are costs. So you can subscribe for like $10 a month or something.
Gotta support
Yeah,
the good ones.
I went with the $9.99. Right. Yeah, just to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to do is keep that up forever. Forever's a long time.
Yeah.
We'll be able to keep it up for for the community, because I think I did the poll on Twitter last week and I'd gotten that feedback saying, hey, listen, so for new guys, right? New ladies, gentlemen, and he's and everybody else, right? So when they're coming in and we know that it's likely we'll see a 10x of the community, what do they need? And so I got the feedback a bunch of times. I got too much information on the website anyways, right? But just trying to curate it so there's 2 or 3 things you can tell an onboard or a new person to go look at. Go look at the staking data. Go look at this chart. Go look at that chart. Maybe it just needs to be as short as 2 or 3 things. And then we need to be ready to have, 100,000 people pushing buttons.
Hey, Crispy, I haven't signed up for your Patreon yet, but I intend to do so. But just a little word of advice. I know that Silver got some pushback when he did his, and it was primarily because he just didn't update frequently. So people kind of felt like, they weren't getting their money's worth, if a month or two went by and he wasn't even commenting. So, I'd encourage you to engage with your subscribers, even if it's just in chat or whatever, and there's a ton of information. Obviously, there's enough to keep people occupied for months and months, from the day they sign up. But yeah, just be sure to engage with that crowd, because I think it's a perception of value if they feel like, okay, well, I got everything on day one. What's new, or what's the latest, or why isn't the creator even communicating with me? So just FYI on that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm not gonna. I don't want to comment on Silver, but I joined Silver's Patreon back in the day.
I did too.
I was in there. So I understand, and just Patreons in general like that. So the way you're familiar, right? So so everybody who's not familiar, when you do a Patreon, it's like you're basically going into business. You're creating a business, right? So income, the input is people join, output is you get a tax form. and more paperwork too at the end, and they take a cut because they're the middlemen, right? But there's some functionality that's kind of cool with it, in that you can curate and kind of point people into doing certain things.
We're wrapping up right now.
And be able to give them give them perks and that type of stuff. So I'm primarily using it for that purpose, is to provide additional perks, right, to people. And so that's kind of how I set it up. And I went with a pretty low number, I thought, and I've got some people that are supporting, and we're getting some pretty good messages back and forth. And, more people than not just sent me a note. And it's not like I have 200 people. I got 6 or 7 people. Right. But they just said, hey, listen, I'm just looking to support what you're doing and keep the site up and running. So that's my approach. Now, on the other end, these other things, these newer things that I can do, I have to find a home for them and a way to distribute them. And so perhaps the Patreon fits into that. And that's how I do it. I haven't gotten that far yet. But good advice, Toby. I appreciate that.
Cool. If anybody's curious, and everyone loves my TA, right? I tweeted out a couple of quick screen grabs of some charting I'd done. So, Maddie, I'd drop that in the private chat if you want to pull it up. But I've got kind of a zoomed-in version of an interesting channel I've found that we've been in for quite a while now. And we're kind of on the upper edge of that. So it's kind of a do or die time as far as pattern TA goes. And if we break out of that, it looks very promising. And then it kind of gives you an idea on the longer term if we have continuation on those breakouts. So it's kind of fun, I find, for people to see and look at. But you can see there the kind of upward parallel channel that we are playing out very nicely. And then it is coming to the top of a descending parallel channel. And then there's that vertical yellow line, which would be the measured move of that channel, which would take us up around 5 cents, which would be next resistance. And then that's all kind of grouped into, if you go to the next tweet, you'll see the zoomed out version of this entire pattern. And it's a giant descending wedge that's been playing out for over a year. And then the measured move from that. So if all this plays out according to plan, which it's been remarkably consistent in some of these patterns, it looks like we could be breaking out sometime in March, getting up to around the 5 cent level. If we break the larger pattern, say in May, and we do the full measured move on that, it could take quite a while for that to play out, but that would make sense with Pulse Chain and the movie and other things coming to bear fruit in the summer months, I would imagine. That you could actually, and that's the next tweet, the reply tweet to this one, Maddie, if you want to go to that. You could see there where basically we would break out of this giant triangle sometime in March and retest the all-time high sometime in July. And then those two parallel lines you see going forward, it kind of depends on when we break the pattern. But if we break that pattern in March, and we do that full measured move, which is like the height of the flagpole, so to speak, on that big flag, then you're looking at an all-time high sometime in 2024, end of 2023 into early 2024 of anywhere from $10 to $12, which I know I would be very pleased with. But it's fun to do these kind of things. I know a lot of people think pattern trading is crazy. I don't necessarily trade the patterns. I just kind of like to keep my charts updated, and it's fun to watch how they kind of are self-fulfilling prophecies, because a lot of people do pattern trade. So a lot of times what will happen is these things become self-fulfilling prophecies. People see lines of support and resistance and set their orders, their buy and sell orders accordingly. So that's where they kind of are self-fulfilling prophecies. So I feel like if we break out from here, then we're probably looking at 5 cents pretty soon. So maybe launch a V3 testnet could be that little impetus to propel us up to those levels. Then the bigger ask is to break out of that big pennant that we've been forming all the way since all-time high back in September of 21. And if that breaks out, then I think things could be off to the races pretty quickly. But it'll be fun
I'll
to see
allow
if it
it.
comes true. Right.
I'll allow it too.
It would be fun.
It's been a long 2022, man.
Yeah. And then, Maddie, were you going to play the Hex Cadet thing? Oh, it's quite long. It's like 25 minutes, isn't it? So that might be a little much. And I'm already kind of getting the evil eye from the fiance. I've been on way longer than I told her I would be. So this has been.
I'm gonna link it at the end, but
Okay, cool.
I feel like I don't want to reduce the views, basically.
Right. Yeah, people should definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, it's really good.
It's a good one.
I didn't realize it was actually out. I saw the post about naming it.
Yeah, I saw that too. What do you think a good name for the 2022 year in review should be called?
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
That's actually a pretty good one.
A tale of two charts.
A tale of two cryptos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like that one.
I suggested it should be named The Beginning of It All.
That works too, right?
I was thinking Back to the Future, but it doesn't fit.
Maddie's cornered the market on that one. So
that's right.
Yep. New opportunities. Wasn't that like a Star Wars subtitle of one of the movies?
A New Hope.
A New Hope. There we go. A New Hope. That could be it.
A New Hope.
Because I'm telling you, dude, it's like to me, it's like, I was buying at 39 cents, right? So that was after the top. I bought on the way up. I don't know how high I paid on the running up, but after it rolled over, it's and it took me a while to go back and look because I just didn't want to get nauseous. But I finally went and confirmed, and it was 39 cents.
When it dropped from 42 cents to 32 cents, I was like, easy buy.
Right. No doubt. But the thing is I famously or infamously shared the fact that I had a huge hex stake that came out just days before the all-time high, and it was a large amount of hex, and I restaked it. I had a gap in my staking ladder out about 7 years, and I went ahead and staked it out that far. And that stake, obviously, the ideal scenario would have been I sold the top and then I was able to buy back at a fraction. But who's good at that? Nobody, or very few. And but I staked it, and it's I've already earned 70%, or no, I'm sorry, 35% more hex on that particular stake. And then when it's all said and done, it's going to be I think it's 2.5x more hex when that stake comes due. So, I'm very pleased with the yield that I've earned on that, and happy that I threw it down the road. And, where are we going to be in 2026, 2027 when that matures? So hopefully it'll be during another bull run and not a bottom of the next bear.
When you go to restake, I think that's a helpful kind of thing to keep in mind when you're looking at restaking. Discard USD, discard fiat value. because otherwise it kind of gets you all screwed up the way you think about things, right? So it is a different conversation when you say to me, hey, back in 22, Hex was 20 cents, and I took, 100,000 Hex and restaked it into 2026 because I wanted to make sure my ladder was covered, right? And how it usually comes out is, and people, the way a lot of people think about it is, I had this 20 cent, Hex, 100,000 of it, and it was worth 20 grand, and now look at it, it's worth $500. I mean, that's what sticks in their mind. I just, I just lost all this value and blah blah blah. I only have, whatever the numbers come out to be,
Yeah.
few
Oh
hundred
yeah, I
bucks,
denominate everything in
$100
Hex now. It's like the
But-
dollar value, it can be discouraging in times like now.
Yeah, and this is exactly what you said. I mean, you just push that Hex out into the future. You already had it, and you gained from having the lower T-shirt rate.
Yep. Yep.
Anyways, that's how I try to think about it too.
Cool. Fun
Well,
stuff.
this has been another successful episode. We ran longer than normal, and I want to thank all of you who are on screen who made this happen, including Mr. Bigglesworth there.
Professor Oatmeal, everybody.
Professor Oatmeal, indeed.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
And and thanks so much, ChrispyMan, for putting in the work throughout the week to make it possible for us to take a look at all this. And I want to encourage everybody to go sign up for his Patreon. It's only $9.99 a month.
I'll be doing that myself at the end of the stream.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate the support.
Thanks, Crispy Man.
Keep
That's
going.
a ton of work, and it's like,
Thank you for making all that, doing all that work.
You got
Absolutely.
it, Bruce. You got it. I gotta get better at the shilling thing. I'm not really good at it. Like
And
I should be saying, come to my Patreon for exclusive content.
It's hard.
You
man.
know.
Self-promotion's tricky. It's weird. It's
Well,
like-
yeah. Well, and we look at the people with, mostly in the kind of work that we do with crypto, and just
Yeah.
in general, how many introverts we got.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we got some extroverts. We got a tip, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, man. 80% of the people seem to be just fine sitting at home, watching.
I'm under the theory or the regard that most people who stream, cryptocurrency stuff on YouTube, we are all the introverts, because all the extroverts are actually out in the real world doing crap. And so we're like, how do we
You might be right.
get out of our shell? This is the perfect space to talk to people right here in my bedroom. My little
Well,
safe space.
the safe space, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, I think you might have said this before, Bruce. Maybe you said it, maybe you didn't. But I never expected to be on stream. I wasn't planning to do this. This is not my plan. It wasn't. I didn't like. Oh, I need to go do this because I want to be on YouTube. It's the only way to get the word out about what you want to do. Is somehow you have to take to the streets, whatever those are. Whether it's YouTube or Twitter or whatever, because you can't get people's attention otherwise. So.
Yep, and I think it speaks volumes to just be forward facing. I mean, Funding Jim talks about that a lot. It's like, if you're going to put your face out there and like, your reputation more or less to come out and talk about these things, it's like, that speaks volumes, I think, to the community and what a good product it is that all these people have coalesced around. It's I think it's fantastic. I mean, that's why I started, jumping on stream myself. It's like there was definitely part of me that was like, like staying in the shadows and just being on Telegram and doing that part of it. And then I just felt like I couldn't contain my excitement anymore. So it's like I got in there and started showing my face, and then it was too late. So it's like, well, I'm out there. I might
This
as
is
well
the
contribute
tide
what I
that
can.
lifts all boats.
There it is.
And who
I'm hungry.
That's so funny.
who thinks that we should get Sandy Beach on a live stream? Come on,
Yeah.
Sandy!
Oh,
You got
yeah.
Sandy out there.
3,000
Definitely.
subscribers.
Sandy's great. Sandy's great.
Of course. Everybody should be logging on and broadcasting because it's the best. And
At least
Maddie,
testimonials, right?
you ever
Maddie?
think about doing? I know like your conferences always have like a huge number of people that are available to come on, and then you have like the socials and whatnot. You ever think about opening one up like a month or something to do kind of a hangout type of vibe where you could, opens it up to too much potential not what
I
you
just
wanna
I don't
promote?
I don't want to do a worse version of what other people are already doing. I want to do better versions of what I'm doing well. And so it's like, Craig, Gen Hex, they've got a hangout stream. Discourse
Right.
Syndicate has a hangout stream, and those are great. I love those. And I think they're important. I mean, and then Cabana has something that's like really in between, like kind of
Sure.
the gang and that. So yeah, I mean, it's really awesome, the strength of our diversity and people specializing in things. Right now, I'm scrambling to put together the next Hex meetup, and so more on that in the future here.
Cool.
And
And where did you say that was?
I did. Well, I didn't.
didn't.
I said
Almost
in
got
the
him.
future in mid-May. So,
Yeah.
nice try.
I tried.
Here,
I tried. I know Bruce wanted to know.
Somewhere warm, I hope.
Well,
Not
I
Vegas.
know.
I would
as
say
I
not
said,
Vegas.
stop guessing. And here is so hit the like and subscribe button. Follow the speakers here on their social media accounts. And I guess we have, so I have the video loaded, and it's, again, this is whether or not we're going to have an updated version of this in the future. No expectations, but the main idea here is to see how accounts are growing over time and introducing that fourth dimension. So here we go on the outro. Oh wait, we're gonna be on the screen for this. Okay.
Don't ever send me money. Imposters everywhere. Richard Hart bracket. Don't ever send me money. Imposters everywhere bracket. That's fucked up, right? Like, I'm out there actually making an effort trying to stop the fucking scams, and everyone else is like, fucking.
I love this song. I do.
So good.
I do. I'm terrible.
Classic.
Oh no.
Is the screen supposed to be showing something?
Yes. I don't know. The video might be messed.
Oh, okay. Well, then there'll be something to look forward to in the future.
I was like,
We'll make it.
That's hilarious. I was like, I know there are more people in Hex.
I was
Yeah.
waiting for the graphics to catch
Yeah.
up with the song. But
Let me.
Oh wait,
is
that's
it coming up?
oh,
Maybe it just took a
StreamYard
minute
is
to
just
load.
buggy.
There we go.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, and you got the lyrics on the side. That's awesome.
go Toby, go Toby, go Toby.
Dude, I cannot rap.
Can
I
you
can
make
sing,
it?
but I can't rap.
No, I was cheering on your wallet right there.
Oh, right? Yeah. Nah, I'm not on that one.
I don't know how anybody watching this couldn't get excited about the song, about the music. Yeah, Freddie outdid himself with this one for sure.
Dude, seeing him do it
Yeah.
live in Vegas, I mean, that was a highlight for me. It's like,
Yeah.
that was great.
Yeah, that fashion show in Vegas, dude, that was
That was a lot of fun.
I was way cooler than I ever thought it would be.
Dude, RG inspired me. It's like he was moving like a much younger man. It was like, maybe there's hope for me in this back problem, because it's like that guy was breaking it down for somebody.
I think
You
he
know,
was on
4 or 5 years
drugs
younger
on Kratom.
Was he on the kratom again?
I don't know.
But that was a lot of fun.
Did you hear about Hulk Hogan?
Oh no.
He was having back surgery and now he can't move his legs.
No way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's not good.
no.
Hopefully he can overcome.
All right, guys,
terrible-
I'm out of here while this plays out. But thank you, Maddie, for having me.
Of course, my
is
pleasure.
Great
Thanks
show.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
We'll see you, Bruce.
See ya.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you.
That was fun, guys. Thanks, Maddie.
With no expectation of the work from others. It's complicated. I know that there's a lot to this. For your daily Hex update.